begin with a word of prayer by Pastor Richard White. Following Pastor Wright, we'll ask Supervisor McClure to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Those that wish to participate, please stand.
Good morning. Father, we thank you for blessing us to be here this morning. We ask that you bless these men to govern wisely, give them an understanding, Lord, of what need be done. And we ask that you allow them to consult you in all that they say and do. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Wright and Supervisor McClure. Like I said earlier, welcome to the Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting, dated Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. And so first item on the agenda is call of the public. Consideration and discussion of comments from the public. Those wishing to address the Pinal County Board of Supervisors need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. So with that being said, I have 3 cards before me. The first is Shirley Carter. And when you come forward, if you just give the general area where you live and your name, and that will be sufficient.
My name is Shirley Carter. I'm a PC in Pinal County. I reside in Eloy. I'm also a statesman. I want to thank the BOS Chair Goodman and the other supervisors for allowing me to speak to you today on a very important matter that needs your attention. On June 7th, 2022, Nancy Hawkins, the elected chairman of the Pinal County Republican Committee, converted our unincorporated association known as the PCRC to a limited liability company by filing the documents with the Arizona Corporate Commission. Nancy Hawkins listed the members of the PCRC to be only the executive committee, 10 individuals, thereby removing the PCRC body from its legal rights. Nancy Hawkins' executive committee then amended the bylaws without the vote of the body to include an operating agreement which states the PCRC may not transfer any interest in PCRC LLC to any other person. However, Nancy Hawkins did not seek the approval from the PCRC body to amend the bylaws to provide for approval of the conversion of the association to a limited liability company, violating revised statute 29-2403, which states a plan of conversion is not effective unless it has been approved by the body if neither its governing nor its organizational documents provide for approval of a conversion or merger by all the interested holders of the entity to vote on or consent to any matter. Nancy Hawkins did not have the authority to sign the record of conversion with the Corporate Commission under penalty of law, violating revised statute 29-3203, which states a person that signs a record as an agent or legal representative affirms as a fact that the person is authorized to sign the record. Nancy Hawkins did not have the authority to remove the PCRC body from its legal rights, violating revised statute 16-821, which states the whole number of precinct committeemen of a political party shall constitute the county committee of the party. This issue was first reported to Belinda Rodriguez on August 14, 2023, as soon as I was aware of this issue. Then again to Belinda and the Executive Board on October 18, 2023, both to no avail. All actions taken after the formation of the LLC by the PCRC is null and void, making the current chairman, Belinda Rodriguez, and the Executive Committee invalid to represent the PCRC body with this Board of Supervisors and any part of the elections. I ask this board to do a complete investigation into this matter and report back to the PCRC body. I would like to hand the clerk of the board documents for the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Okay, the next is John Orton.
Thank you, Chairman Goodman. I'm John Orton. I live in an unincorporated area of Eloy. Last time I was here for to speak, I ran out of time to finish. I laid out what was going on with our cameras. I was very disheartened by Mr. Goodman. Your comment is, well, is it even in the statutes? The point is you're spending our tax dollars on a camera system that is ineffective. Don't do that. You guys are all implicated if you don't demand that Dana Lewis have these cameras brought up to FBI standards. There's a reason. Without it being FBI standards, it's not admissible in court. So what is the value? Are you just trying to blow smoke up everybody? I mean, it doesn't make sense. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the problem that happened at Picacho School. I've heard Dana Lewis stand before this board and say she has no evidence of any problems with our elections. But yet at the ASRA meeting, she admitted that there was a problem at the Pinal school and that people were disenfranchised. I do recognize that you ask county employees to look into this. We would like to know what happened there. She made the statement that it's impossible for that to happen. As soon as we redistrict, we immediately send out the notices. But people voted in the primary that were in 104. They all came and voted at the Picacho School were also 11, precinct 11 votes. Now, how is it possible that they were allowed to vote in the primary, but they couldn't vote in the general election? They had to vote provisional. And we know those provisional ballots, very, very few of them counted. So, I mean, this, and I know this happened in more than just one precinct. So put Dana on the record, ask her the tough question, what happened there? Because she has lied to every one of you saying she doesn't know of a problem, but yet she admits it at the ASRA meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Horton, if I could you repeat what you think I said at that last meeting?
You asked Dana if it was in the statutes.
No, I made a comment that you stated that I made a comment specifically in regards to the cameras.
Yeah, the comment that you made to Dana is it even required in the statutes that we have
That was
cameras?
a question. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next individual that I have is George Arredondo.
George Arredondo from Coolidge. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. A few weeks back, I attended a working session regarding your Transportation Director report, and there was a discussion about Supervisor Kavanaugh brought up the issue regarding the Transportation Advisory Committee, how they're disproportionate are as it relates to, due to redistricting, that the number of representatives from the respective districts. And there should be 2 from each one. As I understand, there are 3, according to the fact sheet, 3 out of District 4 and 1 in District 1. And on the website, it's 1 in District 1 and 4 in District 4. So I'm not sure which is correct. But nevertheless, reviewing the bylaws, does allow, it still states that, each district should be represented by 2 persons on there. And it also talks about what can be done as far as removing for cause or no cause. So there's a mechanism to correct that, to get things done. And the reason I bring it up more so is that transportation is a big issue in the county, as you all well know. And it's going to be important as we go through the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority and the fund limitations and challenges that have come up. So I think it'd behoove us to make sure we have adequate and pertinent representation there. Not that these individuals have not done a good job, but I think it would be smart to ensure that each district is adequately representative. So I encourage you to review the bylaws and get things suggested to conform with the current districts that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would you
Supervisor.
direct staff to look into whether a person can be removed for cause as a result of our district changes, and whether it would be appropriate to reshuffle that and get 2 transportation advisory persons per district?
Yeah,
Wanna look
and
into that?
we usually wait till after public comment to give direction to staff, but I
That we're
appreciate
doing
that.
okay.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else before I give the time to, our county assessor?
Good morning. Another great day in Pinal County. Wonderful rain coming down. It's great. I am Douglas Wolf, the county assessor. I have just 2 reminders for the board and for the taxpayers. One is the exemptions period for application will end at the end of February. You get an extra day because it's a leap year, but we want to make sure you get those in on time. And secondly, the notices of value, which my office is the main thing that we do every year, will be in the mail and should be hitting people's mailboxes by about the 15th of February. So we'd ask everybody to check their limited property value, which is the taxable amount, on their notice. And if they have problems, obviously they can get in touch with my office. But those will be hitting, and we'll be hearing probably from taxpayers when those goes out. So that's all I had for this morning. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Is there any others in the public? Yes, Mr. Rett.
I'm Noel Reck from Eloy. It's heartening to see agenda items dealing with animal care and control, homeless grants, home emergency repair funds, housing grants, and workforce development. That's positive governance. Conversely, it's just as disheartening to pick up the news day after day to be treated to reports of the latest antics of the Republican Party. What's happened since the last meeting? Is there once again a need to call on Congressional House Republicans to quit flirting with the shutdown? Unfortunately, yes. They kicked the can down the road with a continuing resolution, which at least saved us from a shutdown until March. It was interesting to see who voted against the resolution, House members who knew the resolution would pass without their votes, so they'd be free to vote no without any consequences. Among others, the usual suspects, Jordan, Roy, Bolbert, Gates, Green, Stefanik, and of course the Arizona contingent of Biggs, Crane, Gosar, Schweikert, and Lesko. I'm not sure about Siscomani. What else has the former GOP been up to? Fake elector Anthony Kern wants to investigate Attorney General Mays, a baseless deflection from her investigation of him and the other fake electors. Carrie Lake gives new meaning to being mic'd up. Biggs and Crane pepper their statements to the families of the soldiers killed in Jordan with classless attacks on President Biden. The failed attempt to impeach Secretary Mayorkas, spearheaded by our own Representative Crane. Trump's failed attempt to claim presidential immunity, his wallet lightened by $83 million as he spent $50 million donor dollars on his legal fees. Duplicity on the border bill, which bears a strong resemblance to their own House Bill Representative 2. Despite supporters and detractors on both sides of the aisle, it's an effort by the Senate to deal with the issue. The House may not even bring it to the floor, as passing it would be an unwanted win for President Biden. Trump calling the shots on all of that. Meanwhile, aid to Ukraine and other allies is being held hostage. As an educator, State Superintendent of Education Horn, teaming up with the fake university PragerU, has me completely disgusted. The videos they produce are packed with right-wing indoctrinating propaganda, materials described by Prager CEO Marissa Street as being void of woke culture or agendas, a pro-American alternative to education hijacked by the Marxist left, with a patriotic, wholesome viewpoint. Superintendent Horn calls the materials objective and then contradicts himself, saying they present an alternative to the extreme left. One notable video has Columbus downplaying slavery as something that simply existed all over the world, and being taken a slave is better than being killed, while perpetuating the colonial myth that the Carib people were cannibals. Archaeological evidence has long shown that to be false. There are many more videos of this sort, but time won't allow their exposure today. This collaboration is of the same mindset as Superintendent Horn's attack on non-existent CRT, his disdain for social-emotional learning, and his inane squeal on a teacher hotline. They produce nothing but damage to our educational system. Once again, I call on the board and all Arizona citizens to speak out against these foolish actions brought to you by today's Republican Party and vote. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Rett, do I have any others that wish to speak? Seeing that there's none, I'm going to call to the public. And one of the quirks of being in this position is I get to call an audible every now and then, and so I'm going to move some items up on this particular. I would like to move item number 19, the discussion in regards to the MOU. But with that, I'm going to request that we go into executive session to get some legal counsel in regards to this. So do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, can we move 18 up as well?
Oh, we'll do that when we come out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So,
That's in our regular agenda. Can we do the reports first, or would you want to put those all on hold?
I'd like to put those on hold. We do have our county attorney that's going to be, he needs to go to the Capitol to testify on some items, so I'd like to get this one. And
Okay.
we have some people in the public here that are interested on where the MOU is going to go and how it's going to go.
So, Mr. Chairman, you need a motion to go into exec session?
I do. I would.
I so
please.
move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So we are now in executive session. We'll be back.
Chairman,
Yes,
if we
ma'am.
can just recess because we do have an executive session later
Oh.
during the meeting.
That's a great idea. So we're going to recess our executive meeting and our session. Thank you. Got to help me out here. But before we continue on item 19, I need to go back because I wrote some notes on public comment that I'd like to give some direction to. I think Supervisor Kavanaugh already brought one of those up. One of them is in regards to Mrs. Carter. And a question I have is here, what kind of authority do we have as a board to intervene in this? What kind of investigation? Can you come back and tell us better sooner than later in regards to that? Okay. And then Mr. Orton had, it came across to me, and I had, because you called me out, I have the ability to respond. It came across to me that it was more of a statement that I made rather than a question. And what I did state, what I asked the question, does state legislation, does it mandate us to do the cameras? Now, personally, I agree that these cameras need to be there. And so one of the things that we've instructed from the last meeting was to look at the FBI standards and things of that nature in comparison to that. I need to get a report back because there were some other things from that last meeting that we had that I asked staff to do. And one of them was to give a report on the findings from that meeting. So, for instance, the provisional ballots, things of that nature, more of an explanation what they are, how they function, what's the purpose of a provisional ballot. And there's been a lot of accusations that some of the provisional ballots were left out. And so if you can come, and again, this is one of those items that is better sooner than later. And so if you can, and I think, Leo, I think you may be able to, in your management report, rather than an itemize it, you could give a report back on some of these things that we're requesting. If I'm wrong there, Chris, maybe you tell me. Okay, perfect. I think that's a way that we can do better sooner than later, okay? All right, and so those are just a few things that I wanted to bring out, okay? on call to the public. Now, back to item 19, which is the MOU in regards to our county recorder's office. And so let's go on and take that. Is there any discussion or anything that needs to be brought forth after we've sought legal counsel, or the legal questions that we had pertaining to the current MOU?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I could just lay a little bit of foundation for the public, because they may not have pulled up the MOU. In the current MOU that the board authorized, there is a provision that requires review of this MOU at the board's first regularly scheduled meeting in February of 2024. That's why this is on the agenda, because per the contract, per the MOU, you are required to go ahead and review it. And at that meeting, you can go ahead and take action to renew it, to revise it, to terminate it at this meeting if you should so choose. If you take no action, it would terminate at the end of this month. It says it shall continue until February 29 or 24 unless renewed. So it's just the foundation I wanted to let you prepare you with, so that the rest of the public knows exactly why this item is before you.
Okay. Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Are we
Supervisor
going
Miller.
to hear from Ms. Lewis, and maybe if she has any idea that she might want to change something?
I think that's a great idea. Yes. Is Ms. Lewis here? There she is. Thank you for being here. And again, state your name for the record. And
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Recorder.
good enough for me.
Are we talking about the MOU? Is that what we need to address?
Yes.
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, at this point, I believe that the execution of the MOU is currently effective. I do believe we've brought on a full staff of the elections department. We're currently working through all of our processes. We recently had a mock election that went successfully. We had members of the outside come be part of that and watch some of the new processes, look at our chain of custody, our audit processes, our reconciliations, and our receivings. Very thorough process now. We also looked at, legislation as a team and identifying some of the issues that will occur with the recount, and been working through that lockstep with the team right now. There are multiple avenues that we are working together tirelessly. There's a common thing, we've got babies on board now, ballots are in the building, and so that's always an energizing thing. It brings the morale up, and, we definitely understand the assignment and are working towards a successful 2024, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is that any other questions, Supervisor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just didn't know if there were any amendments or anything that she'd like to see either added or removed from the MOU, but it sounds like she's satisfied with how it's structured at this point in time.
Okay. Is there any other? Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we still in discussion or ready for a motion?
I think we're still in discussion. That's what I was going forward with. Yeah.
Okay. So, with respect to the MOU, I would like to add, and I'll make a motion, that no employee of the elections office shall be terminated without first being given an opportunity to meet with the Board of Supervisors in executive session.
Okay. That's part of the discussion, right?
Yeah, I just think that's wise. We have, so for the benefit of the public, an elected official has their employees. That's their silo of employees. We don't have any management over them. We can recommend that an elected official handle an employee issue in a given way. So we've entered this MOU to allow the recorder to manage the elections department for us. And for all practical purposes, that makes those employees sort of under the same guidelines to all employee-related matters go through the elections department. But if an employee has a concern, the elections department is unique in all the county because we've screwed up a couple of elections. So it would be good if someone's getting the boot and they have some issues they want to draw out and bring to the attention of the board that we allow them to do that in executive session. It's not unheard of, and the county attorney can correct me if I'm wrong. An employee can meet with the board if there's an adverse action. They can ask to meet with the board in executive session to discuss an HR issue. So it's not unusual. It would help for transparency if they're saying, hey, there's a real big problem here, and I brought it up, and I'm being punished for it, and this is the problem. The board can decide in private if that issue is relevant. We can have the recorder weigh in if that's valid or not. So that's the reason for my suggestion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, and I might remind that this discussion is amongst us five here.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
And the public is just here as a guest of ours when it comes to this discussion. So if you could address the board members between us and the conversation between us, I think that would be more appropriate.
Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Or you first?
Supervisor.
I just wanted to say if we take that course, then every department would then possibly ask for that, and then every firing, and we have how many hundreds of employees? I don't think this board wants to. I mean, we've got to trust our department heads and leaders to make those decisions.
I mean, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor McClure.
We don't want to be the HR department. That's not our job.
Yeah, and the way this stuff is written right now, even through the MOU, there's a proper chain of there's a proper role that is already established through the MOU and things of that nature. I mean, any elected official that is currently in an office, to Supervisor Surtees' comment, was any elected official is responsible for their department. Any issues related with employees has to go through the chain of command. The argument could be made that those are actual employees of the county. And so that's where I don't want to be an HR director in this. That's why we hired these professionals to do it, to your point, and to your point, Supervisor McClure. And so with that, I personally, I couldn't support what Supervisor Kavanaugh's making the statement on.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor, was there anybody else real quick before? Okay, Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to rebut you in that argument. So it's less about HR management and more about election transparency. So it would be unique to this MOU. We would not be opening it up to the rest of the staff in the county. But this would give us the opportunity to hear from an employee who may have a concern over election-related issues. And in the past two elections, we've had things that have been brought to our attention that sort of raised the hair on the back of our necks, but not enough that we said, hey, wait a minute, there's really something wrong. And we didn't find out till later there was really something wrong in those elections. So that's my argument.
And I appreciate your argument, but as far as us taking action on certain items, I believe we did. We hired a elections director that actually did not follow the rules of state legislation and ordered enough ballots on the day of the primary. And we fired that guy because of incompetency. And so to your argument that, yeah, there's been some botch elections in all areas. And we've taken action as a board in regards to that. When we fired him and we've taken the necessary steps to get us back, election integrity is everything. Totally agree with you. A disgruntled employee is a whole different situation that I don't feel like we need to be taking especially at this time. We're in a time crunch here. We don't even know what the state legislation's going to come through with some of their changes or anything else of that nature when it comes to how we do our manual, right? And so there's still some uncertainties, a lot of uncertainties that's coming from the top down that gives us direction on what we can do with everything that we have. And so, but when it comes to disgruntled employees and things of that nature, I think it's the department and our HR department to deal with that. And I don't want, me personally, I don't see circumventing that chain of command. That's where I'm at. Okay. Is there any other discussion in regards to this? Is there a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the MOU as written and renew it for another year.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Chairman Goodman, members of the board.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
And Mr. Chairman, per the rules, may I explain my vote?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So the MOU lists really specific things that are required by the board, that are required by the recorder. And my no vote represents my concern over the issues of the MOU and whether those items will be met. And I'm not 100% confident that all these items are going to be met. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I've also been asked to go back to item number 18. We have Jill Broussard here. She's also going to be, is she here? Do I see Jill out there?
No, I haven't seen her.
Oh, okay. So we'll come back to that. Or do we need, or is Angie Woods here? We need her back in there in the accounting department, pounding through the dollars. So,
Good morning, Chairman Goodman, members of the board. Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. Item number 18 before you is a discussion approval, disapproval of a donation to the Mary C. O'Brien Accommodation School. We have one desk and one credenza that can be used in their offices, and so we're asking for unanimous support to transfer those items over to them.
okay. Pretty self-explanatory. It does require a unanimous vote. So do I have a motion moving forward or any discussion regarding this?
I move that we approve item 18 as presented.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
It's done. All right, let's go back to our consent items. Or two.
Mr. Chairman, you still have the county manager report?
Yeah,
and
we
items
don't,
2
you
through
know,
6.
unless he's got some good information on the stuff that's brought up, we don't really want to hear from. No, I'm kidding.
No news is good.
Mr. Leo, you're on, brother.
I can yield my time if you prefer, sir.
No, we're good. Take it.
Thank you, sir. If you could just indulge me for a little while here, I want to talk about Pinal County and our cities and towns' engagement in our professional associations here recently and things that have developed. So just to set the stage, there's an International City County Management Association, which is an association of our profession. City county managers throughout the state, throughout the world, as well as ACMs, DCMs, and directors are involved in this association. Up here is their vision statement and the current executive director of the association, who's a former city manager of Austin, Texas. And then there's the state-affiliated chapter of that association. This is our most recent manager's corner picture. And we essentially want to develop the leaders is one of our priorities, strategic priorities of the association. I've been serving on the board of this association since July of 22. And so that was there in Sedona. And there were some Pinal County residents and professionals that were recognized at high levels at this conference. And so I wanted to highlight that. We have Cynthia Seelhammer, whom you know and who participated and helped out in a couple of your town hall events recently. She is a Pinal County resident, and she was the first town manager of Queen Creek when they incorporated with a population of 2,000. And when she left there, she went to be deputy city manager for Phoenix. About 14 years later, the town was 25,000. And then John Cross, who worked for her, followed her, and we know where it is today. And now we have Bruce Gardner, who has succeeded John Cross, and great partner there at Queen Creek. She received a lifetime member recognition from the association. And now she currently, after 37 years, she did a lot of work with other cities and towns, and she was also the Coconino County manager for a while. But now she is the professor of practice at Arizona State University's School of Public Affairs and the Watts College of Public Service and Community Solutions. She runs a couple of important programs. One's the Marvin Andrews Jane Morris Fellowship in Urban Government Program, which is the MPA program, is recognized as one of the best in the country, and she helps to introduce and integrate students into public service as they're developing in their MPA programs. She also manages the Harold Hutchinson Visiting Urban Professional, bringing experts in local government to the ASU campus to help mentor the students. One colleague said about her, Cynthia Seelhammer embodies the essence of a consummate professional, possessing the integrity, expertise, and passion that epitomize the values of Arizona City County Management Association. So we'd like to thank Cynthia and recognize her and let her know that she's very valued in our profession.
You know, real quickly on that with her, you know, I didn't realize we had that kind of a gem right here within the Santan Valley area, that she has all that experience and knowledge. She's been able to lend a great deal to a lot of the different organizations over the years, and so I echo what you're saying there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our very own city manager for Apache Junction, who received the John Dabowski Professional Excellence Award, which is the highest level of professional excellence in local government, and who have made life contributions in serving the profession. So Bryant Powell has been the city manager since July of 2015, and Supervisor Surtee has a lot of experience with Bryant. Before that, he was the assistant city manager for 14 years. And from the county's perspective, he's been a strong partner in road infrastructure and flood control infrastructure development, significant collaborations and IGAs to develop these that really make life changes for the residents. When asked where his passion for city management stems from, Bryant Powell points to his mission in Ecuador that highlighted the importance of the services communities need for survival, such as clean water, electricity, and waste disposal. And if you've heard his story, you know that that really changed and drove his passion for local government. So we want to say thank you to Bryant, and I don't know if Supervisor Surtee wanted to say anything.
No, it's just we need the whole county to be connected like this, and it sure helps to have local leaders that do connect with the county, because we overlap in so many different places and ways.
Yeah. Yep, the partnerships with the cities are essential. And then I participated on a panel and just wanted to highlight, we had the city manager of Phoenix, Jeff Barton, town manager of Clarkdale, Jan Perkins, who is the visiting professor right now for the ASU MPA program, talking about local government management with that conference is, again, is one of our strategic priorities is developing leadership throughout our profession and throughout the state. That would segue over into this. As a part of our strategic planning retreat as an association, one of the things we identified was to develop directors to go beyond being subject matter experts to understanding how they can affect and balance the competing values within the system as a whole. The elected officials, the community, the stakeholders, and we wanted to help develop that within our own directors throughout the state. So we developed a program called the Management Academy. We have representatives all throughout the state. We have Page. We have everybody in the valley, essentially. We have Maricopa County there. We have Gilbert in the East Valley. We have Goodyear in the West Valley. We have Tucson to the south, El Mirage, Goodyear, and then 2 of our Pinal County directors are a part of this program. So we developed this program. The first day it's hard to see, but that's Tom Belshey, who most of you probably know, who's the executive director of the League in Cities and Towns. And so he went over with the students or participants the history and philosophy of the council manager form of government, which is what we function in. The board sets policy and governs, and the professional staff implements your policies. Following that, we had Bryant Powell to teach the participants, this is what it really looks like in the real world. This is how the academics are applied in the town setting or city setting. And then next, I facilitated a really good conversation with former mayors and a current mayor and their managers. And so over there on our right, that's Patrick Banger, who's the town manager of Gilbert. It's Jen Daniels, who was former mayor, who was his boss for a while. Jeff Tyne was a retired city manager of Peoria. And then there's a lot of Pinal County representation in here. We have former Mayor Christian Price. And then unfortunately you can't see him, but to his right you have Mayor McFarland for the city of Casa Grande, and then his manager, Larry Raines. And so I thought we had very insightful conversations, a lot of wisdom that was given in that for those participants. And then so we have our finance director, budget and finance director, Angie Woods, who participated in this. And we also have our county engineer, Chris Wanamaker. So before we finish, I just wanted to give them an opportunity to say a piece of what their experience was so far in this first day of this academy.
They were voluntold, right, to come forward?
Well, I asked them what they thought about it genuinely, and then I thought, you know what, I can't really translate what they said. They can say it better than I can. So.
All right.
Sure. Well, good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Chris Wanamaker, County Engineer. And I just want to take this time to thank Leo, our County Manager, for giving me the opportunity to participate in something like this. You know, we spent one day together, and let me tell you, we covered a lot of things that you just can't get out of a book, traditional training, or even watching videos. And that practical hands-on experience and being able to converse with people that have done what you're going to be doing in the future is just so what I told Leo is just full of golden nuggets of information, just stories, anecdotes, solutions to problems, and how you manage things. It was very beneficial, and I really look forward to the coming year participating in this program. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been really great. So,
thank you, Chris.
I don't have much more to say than that Chris didn't say. However, I do want to say that I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be put in this situation. Having the county manager, recognize that this is something that leadership here needs. The growth I'm going to get through this process is going to be invaluable, not only to myself, but how I lead in the county, in my own department. From my perspective, the meeting that I attended that Friday, I got the nuggets that Chris did, but what I also realized is my day-to-day is a lot of problem solving, a lot of putting solutions in place, a lot of putting resources allocation. But it's also very important to develop the leadership. And my takeaway from that day was not only what I heard, but also the feeling that I got from the growth that just transpired that day. So it was very inspiring. I went away that day with a renewed sense of purpose. So again, I thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Chairman. That's all I have.
That's all you've got. Okay. All right. Item number 3. Thank you, Leo. Item number 3, these are supervisor district updates regarding notable current or upcoming events concerning our district. So let's start off with District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have Pizza with the Police in Maricopa at 5 p.m. You can RSVP on the police department's webpage. And then I'll remind folks again to save the date for the Hayduke Building dedication, Wednesday, February 21st, after the BOS meeting at 392 South Main. We're going to affix a memorial plaque to the veterans who left from that building, which used to be the Trailways bus station, and now is the BOS office. And the 79th anniversary of the Iwo Jima flag raising is going to be February 24th at 8:30 a.m. In the Ira Hayes Veteran Memorial Park in Sackatoon. And finally, we had the cleanup last Saturday where the county shows up with dumpsters and everything, and folks bring tires and garbage that was out in the desert, and it was a smoking success. So it was fantastic to see that, and mark your calendars for next year so we can clean up more desert and get rid of some of these old tires.
Thank you, Supervisor McClure. Kavanaugh. Supervisor McClure.
Sure. Do I have a video? Okay, in a second. So we had a State of the County meeting down at Saddlebrook on January 23rd, and that was attended by myself, but Mr. Liu, Mr. Whalen, Joe Ortiz, Doug Wolf, Kent Volkmer, Dedrick Denton, and Tara Harmon from Public Works to talk about the temp tax. And there's a video on the website someplace. Kevin, I don't see you, but I know you have one someplace. And we're going to have another State of the County meeting at Merrill Ranch on February 27th from 10:30 to 12 at the Community Center. Seating's limited, so get your tickets now. You can email my office, BOS District 4 at pinal.gov, and get a seat. And so with that, we've got a video. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jeff McClure. I'm the county supervisor for this area, and I brought with me a little team of people from Pinal County. So without further ado, let's get this started.
So we were at the District 4 State of the County event for Supervisor McClure to inform the folks in Saddlebrook, just to give them information about what's going on in the county.
I've been asked to talk about the public works side, but I'd like to talk about some of the accomplishments that have happened here recently. That four-letter acronym, TIMP, Transportation Improvement and Maintenance Program, that's supported through our Maintenance and Transportation Improvement Fund.
Our presentation was about the Transportation Maintenance and Improvement Fund, and then how important it is to have that fund renewed in order to maintain and preserve our roads in the county.
We're going to have a little discussion on the historical background of the fund.
So it is a sales tax, but the money that is allocated to the fund is collected by the Arizona Department of Revenue, and they distribute that money to the county, and then the county distributes it between themselves and then our 10 municipalities. You know, it's there to repair pothole, pavement preservation, maintenance, and also safety improvements as well.
We spent a total of roughly $7.7 million for pavement preservation projects. Of that $7.7 million, $7 million even was allocated from the maintenance fund.
So the reason that we're doing this is mainly for voter awareness. You know, we just want to make sure that our voters within Pinal County do understand the purpose of the fund, and then what that money goes towards, and then how that helps improve their quality of life. Making sure that our roads are well connected, and we also want to make sure by having those well connected roads that it does cut down on the emergency response times. It also helps with safety improvements.
Those are all TIMP related type projects, so you know where that dollar's going.
We are planning to hit every municipality within the county. We are planning on council meetings just to bring it to their attention. We're also going to have open houses around the county, I believe about 10 to 12 of those, just so the public can come in and we can have that face-to-face, and they can ask us questions directly about the fund and how we spend the money. If folks want to get more information, they can go to our Preserving Pinal website, and we have plenty of information on what we're doing, videos that go out. We post those to the website, and it has a lot of information about the history, the background, and then what the fund is being used for.
Thank you. Oh, I also, in watching that, I noticed that Brent Billingsley was there, James Smith, Dan Lewis. I forgot them. Didn't want to leave you out. So anyway, it was a fun time. Inform the voters.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Sturdy.
Yeah, last meeting we had Bureau of Land Management Director Leon Thomas here, and he explained what was going to be happening in the recreation area out there, and I just want to report that it is well underway with mostly the illegal campers have been evicted, and this rain now has it on hold, but it is going well, and it looks good to go look out across the desert and see it not cluttered now, and look forward to every step of the way, and I'll keep everybody apprised.
Thank you. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything to report on that's activity to my district or anything right now. But as we get down to item number 6, I'll opine on a couple things for you there.
Okay, great. And then I have a video that I'd like to share. I think the video itself will explain some of the stuff that's been going on in Santan Valley area.
Today we're behind the Santan Home Depot. We started getting dumping complaints.
We've had several phone calls over the past several years regarding illegal dumping. You drive through the parking lot, you can't miss it.
I contacted the property owner. They immediately got someone to come out and clean the dumping. However, this has been a continual problem.
I don't understand where people think they have the right to dump their garbage on their neighbor's property. I can't fathom that. I can't understand it. I can't wrap my head around it.
This property owner has been very cooperative. They even have a contract that they have people coming to look for illegal dumping, but they're also going to get law enforcement backing. They are going to have eyes and ears here to try and catch the people that are illegal dumping on the property.
Multiple times, our county, each of the district has a community cleanup. I'm dumbfounded when I think about people know this and it's getting more traction, why they continue to do this right here on somebody's private property. Then you've got all the parking that's here. This is illegal parking.
We are having trouble with semis using the parking lot, people staying in RVs on this site.
We've got a guy over here behind me that has a trailer parked here. He's got his jet skis. He has his motorcycle.
One of the things the property owners can do is to get a contract with a tow company. They will come out and post signs. On those signs, it's going to say it will be towed at the owner's expense. The other item that you can do is to get a hold of your local law enforcement, and you can give them the authorization to be able to come and arrest people for trespassing. That's the biggest misconception of the public. They think we have authority to go on private property and to resolve the violation. We do not. We have a process we have to follow.
Because of the great country that we live in, private property rights is a big thing.
Because no one would want us to come onto your property without you having the recourse to be able to challenge it. So we don't do that, and it is a lengthier process to do it. If you see that there is dumping or any other illegal issues on vacant property, please contact the Code Compliance with Development Services. You just have to log on to our website. We do have online complaint submittals.
You as citizens can help us in so many ways, but the biggest thing you can do is to be aware of the problem and report it. Report it. That's how we stop this.
So I'm happy to say that that area has been cleaned up dramatically. They've hired a company that will be there regularly. The problem is as soon as they clean it up, it becomes, everybody just think, oh, okay, they cleaned it up. We can continue to dump here. And so we are now have the authority to prosecute. We have a victims and these are victims here, that we have the ability to do that. And that's also the illegal dumping. When I said that we've had this kind of stuff for years, you should see the stuff, for instance, in the desert. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so that's one of the reasons why we as a board took an initiative here a couple years ago to do these community cleanups to help stop this and provide opportunities for people to come and dump. In addition to that, they've posted, they have a towing company that they've used, and they've posted on each of the vehicles that are parked there illegally that they will be towed away at their expense. And so all the things necessary to help that out. I mean, you know, that entire area is going to be developed here pretty quick. We want to be able to entice and encourage more companies to come to that area, especially with the retail leakage that we're losing over into Maricopa County. So anyway, that's my report in regard. Oh, one other thing, I have a meeting. We do regular meetings at the HOAs and to keep them abreast and informed on some of the things that are happening. I have one this Thursday for the pecan. Oh, crud. No, it's the subdivision just to the west, and I have one this Wednesday or Thursday at 6 p.m. You can look it up on my website, and then it will tell you exactly which HOA it is. So if you live in that area, you're welcome to come and listen to and give your input on things. Okay. So with that being said, I don't think we have any others for item number 4, Supervisor Surtee.
Yes, I have an opening and an appointment on the Open Space and Trails Advisory Commission, and I'm proud and pleased to announce that Ms. Jamie Sullivan is going to be taking that. And Jamie works with Apache Junction's Parks and Rec, and when you think of Apache Junction, the thing they do best is their parks and their events, Prospector Park, Silly Mountain, and Flatiron Park. And as the county transitions to regional parks, we've got Peralta online, and we're going to be bringing in a lot more in the future. I look forward to her advice and guidance on how we might develop that park system here in the county. So Jamie's here today, and I have a certificate for her, so I'd like to present that.
Come on up, Jamie.
Nice. One more. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. All right. It was just handed to me this. You know, one of us has a need to eat at 12:30, so, and you look at all of us, it's probably you're thinking it's me. But we'll take a recess for lunch at 12:30, and so chances are we're not going to get through the entire agenda. So anyway, just so you know it. Okay. Let's see, item number 4. We're on to item number 5. Mr. Volkmer.
Thank you, Chair, Board, members of the public. My name is Ken Volkmer. I'm the Pinal County Attorney. What I'd really like to kind of set this agenda item up with is just sort of addressing one of the single greatest public health and safety issues our community faces is domestic violence. Almost a decade ago now, Governor Ducey at that time started a Paint It Purple campaign where he lit up the Capitol. It spread. The city of Phoenix did the same thing. And the idea behind this lighting it up or painting it purple is that the thing we most often hear from victims of domestic violence are that they're ashamed, that they're embarrassed, that nobody would believe them. Nobody would believe that their significant other would commit this offense. And when we light it up purple, what we're doing is we're making a public statement to those individuals saying, we're here for you, we see you, we believe you, and we love you. 2 years ago, we decided to challenge those people in our community because we have the same domestic violence here that they have in Phoenix or anywhere else. And what we wanted was a public affirmation to these victims that we're here for them. So we challenged our community to paint it purple, paint Pinal purple. Our slogan this year was end the silence, stop the violence. And what we do is we essentially we just want to celebrate. So I'm going to look at my phone because we had a number of submissions, but our top three were, third place was the local all-stated anthem in Cassie Kenall. I believe she should be coming up. Second place was our own juvenile court services, and I believe Donna McBride will be here. First place is from our local Arizona City Fire Department, and Shirley Sutherland will be attending. And we also wanted to give a shout-out and honorable mention to Against Abuse, and Holly Bazan will be attending. We wanted to do is bring them up, present a plaque with them, and again, give them our gratitude. They're the ones that are telling the public that we're here for you. So I'd ask everybody to join me in a round of applause for them, and then if the board's so willing, come down and take a photo with them.
Pretty.
Sorry, I bumped you. I'm going to keep order
Of height?
who you guys line up. Goodman right here. Right here? Miller, come over here. Nope, Goodman, you're right here. There you go, you guys swap. There you go. There we go. Kevin, I'll tilt it just a little bit. There you go. And what a fine looking group. 3, 2, and Mishka hiding in the background. Oh. Okay, sorry. 3, 2. Okay, I'm not seeing a genuine smile here. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Thank you.
I take it you're not done.
Three very quick things.
Okay.
Sure. First, I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank the board for giving the opportunity to recognize these individuals. Two, I always do this, and I apologize. Matt and Letitia and my staff are phenomenal. I always forget to thank them. They're the ones that set this up. They're the ones that remind me I need to do this. They're outstanding. And the third thing is I challenge each one of my board members, each of our elected offices, and everybody in the audience. Next October, when it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I challenge each of you to paint Pinal purple, to make a public statement about how much we care about our victims. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, there's a lot of legislation that's been dropped at the Capitol. I have a number here that says 1,482, but I've heard from the other day that we have over 1,500 bills that have been dropped at the state legislature. None have been passed. They're all still in committee. We're real early in this whole process. Things will start getting real busy in a couple of weeks when they do crossover week. So all the House bills will be sent over to the Senate, and the Senate bills will be sent over to the House. A lot more discussion. But I'll just keep you posted. There's a couple of websites. CSA always has a posting of how our LPC committee votes on legislation that affect counties. And I think that's probably a good place. That's where I've been focusing most of my time on this CSA process, due to the fact that I chair it and due to the fact that it affects counties. So, but no damage yet. It's just everybody's still in limbo at this point in time.
Thank you.
Unless anybody has a specific question, if you do have a specific question on a specific legislation or a bill that you've seen or heard, email me, get back to me, and I will get you the details on where and what's happened with it. So, okay.
I have one question, if I may, Mr.
You
Chairman.
bet. You bet. Supervisor
Supervisor
Cavanaugh.
Miller?
Yeah.
What I was curious about was composting toilets. What's the dirty on that? Have you followed that one?
Yeah. Well, I think that was tied to a tiny home project.
Okay.
Okay. So there was some discussion about that. It did not receive support because they were afraid of the of what we just fought with over here in the Gold Canyon area. People just going out and squatting, and they would bring their compost toilet with them and be set up in the middle of nowhere. So there's a lot going on. I think items that we'll be talking about in the future will be tiny homes, water, and transportation.
And what
those seem to be rising to the top.
What about splitting Maricopa into 5 pieces? Well,
That
is
will.
that dead in the water?
I don't like to predict, but I would tell you that doesn't have much of a chance. It would throw so many other agencies into a tailspin. Like in particular, I sit on the CAP board. Well, that would just totally. You'd have to restructure the way your representation is done at the CAP because there's just too many variables that go with that. And I would suspect that that would be the same with all types of special districts that are patterned out through any county. So I don't know what the thoughts are, why somebody thinks that's a good idea, but it does keep popping up, it seems like, at least lately, the last couple of years.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions? Though, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Miller. Item number 7, purchasing report. Ms. Wood.
Good morning again, Chairman Goodman, Supervisors. Angie Woods, Department Director for Office of Budget and Finance. I'm here today to present the Purchasing Division report for February 7th, 2024. And please bear with me, the Purchasing Division report is lengthy today, and it's likely to be lengthy for the next couple of meetings. My Purchasing Division has been quite busy and has a lot to bring forward for your approval. First, the board is requested to approve the following contract awards. RFP 203026 for attorney services. It's recommended Gregan and Associates be awarded a contract beginning February 7th, 2024 through June 30th, 2024 to run concurrent with the current contract with 2 optional 1-year extensions. This contract will be used by Public Defense Services. RFP 220226, Specialty Legal Services. It's recommended to award contracts with the following suppliers: Ballard Spar, LLP, Kaplan Kirch and Rockwell, LLP, Snell and Wilner, LLP, Squire Patton Boggs. The initial term of the contract begins February 7th, 2024 through June 30th of 2024. This also runs concurrent with the current contract with 2 optional 1-year extensions. These contracts will be used by the County Attorney's Office. RFP 204829, Maintenance, Repair, and Operating Supplies, including generator maintenance services. We are recommending contracts to be awarded with the following suppliers: Advanced Mechanical Services, LLC, Arizona Generator Technology, DBA Gentech, Central Power Systems and Service, and Rogerio's Ace Hardware. The initial term of the contract begins February 7th, 2024 and runs through February 6th of 2025. These contracts have 4 optional 1-year extensions. These contracts are used countywide. RFP 241729, Printing and Mailing of Election Materials. It's recommended to approve a contract for K&H Election Services beginning February 7th, 2024, ending February 6th, 2025, with 4 optional 1-year extensions. The contract will be used by the Elections Department and Recorder's Office. Next up, we have the board is requested to approve the following contract amendments. For RFP 190524, in-home detention and alcohol monitoring, we're recommending approval of amendment number 4 to exercise optional extension period from February 12th of 2024 through February 11th of 2025 with GPS Monitoring of Arizona LLC and SCRAM of Arizona Incorporated. There's no optional extensions remaining on either of these contracts. These contracts are used by the Pinal County Justice Courts and the Adult Probation Department. RFP 203726, Legal Case Management Software. We're recommending approval of amendment number 4 to exercise the optional extension period from March 24th, 2024 through March 23rd of 2025 with Aon Nexus Corporation. There is one optional extension remaining on this contract, and it is used by our Public Defense Services Office. ROQ 204226, On-Call Architectural Services. We're recommending approval of amendment number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with Arrington Watkins Architects, BWS Architects, DLR Group, Swan Architects. There is one optional extension period remaining on these contracts, and they are used by our Facilities Department. ROQ 204326, On-Call Building Safety Residential and Commercial Plan Review Services. We're recommending approval of amendment number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with Brown & Associates Certified Inspection Services Incorporated, Bureau Veritas North America Incorporated, Wildan Engineering. There is one optional extension remaining on these contracts, and they are used by the Development Services Community Development Division. ROQ 204426, On-Call Construction Management Services. We're recommending approval of amendment number 3 to exercise optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with AECOM Technical Services Incorporated, Arcadis Consulting Engineering Incorporated, Sonomas, Strand Associates Incorporated, TriStar Engineering and Management Incorporated. There is one optional extension period remaining for these contracts, and the amendment also includes a 2.78% rate increase for Consultant Engineering Incorporated. The contracts are used by our Facilities Department and Development Services Department, the Public Works Division. ROQ 204526 for On-Call Engineering Development Plan Review Services. We're recommending approval number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with Entellus Incorporated, L.A. Chow Consulting Incorporated, Michael Baker International, and Sonomas. There is one optional extension period remaining on these contracts, and they are used by the Development Services Department, the Community Development Division. ROQ 204626 for On-Call Environmental Engineering Services. It's recommended approval of amendment number 3 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with Hydrochem Incorporated and Westland Resources. There's one optional extension period remaining on these contracts, and they are used by the Development Services Department, Community Development Division. ROQ 204726, On-Call Facility Assessment, Retro Commissioning Services. We're recommending approval of amendment number 2 to exercise the optional extension period from March 28th of 2024 through March 27th of 2025 with GLHN Architects and Engineers Incorporated, Kitchell/CEM Incorporated. There's one optional extension period remaining on these contracts, and they are used by our Facilities Department. RFP 223226, public health staffing. It's recommended you approve amendment number 2 to the exercise the optional extension period from March 16th of 2024 through March 15th of 2025 with Lance Soft Incorporated and Trifacta Incorporated. There are 2 optional extension periods remaining on these contracts, and they are used by the Public Health Department. Next, we're asking for approval for competition impracticable purchases over $100,000. In the amount not to exceed $300,000, we're looking for a supplier. So the supplier is unknown. We're looking to purchase a heavy haul transport truck, and we're asking for approval to give limited delegated authority for the county manager to approve the contract. This is used by our Fleet Services Department. In the amount of $552,424, we're asking for approval with Ultra Electronics Forensic Technology. We're wanting to purchase IBS, or Integrated Ballistic Identification System Forensic Technology, for the County Attorney's Office. In the last section, we're asking to the board to, we're notifying the board that we have made the following cooperative purchases between the amounts of $100,000 and $250,000. PO number 251139 with Midway Chevrolet. We've issued a purchase order for $119,017.95 for 3 2024 Chevrolet Traverse vehicles. The departments will be, IT department and Fleet Services are utilizing these vehicles. We've issued PO number 251147 with Midway Chevrolet for $127,533.60 for 3 more 2024 Chevy Traverses. These vehicles will be used by court administration and Fleet Services. Lastly, we're informing you of the issuance of PO number 251149 with Enterprise Security Incorporated in the amount of $129,647.67 for Hirsch 8-door controller and expansion door cable, which is used by our Information Technology Department. Are there any questions?
Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whatever would be most appropriate to discuss the K&H printing in exec session, I'd like to have that. And the other thing is, if Kent Volkmer is still here, the Ultra Electronics Forensic Technology contract for $500,000, would it be appropriate for you to better explain that, or would County Attorney Volkmer like to explain that?
He's available. I would prefer that he would explain how that's being used in his department.
Ultra Electronics Forensic Technology, Kent.
I apologize. I was outside speaking with someone. Could you direct me?
There's a purchasing item for $552,000 for IBIS Integrated Ballistic Identification System.
Yes, I believe that is. We applied for a federal grant, and the U.S. Attorney's Office gave us a NIBIN grant. So the NIBIN machine is for bullet casings and bullets. So what happens is you can put the dispense casing through it, and it can match it up. So it's a tool that's designed to link between shootings, like is a firearm been used in multiple shootings. So the U.S. Attorney's Office gave us that $500,000 and some odd $1,000 grant. So we're using it to buy the terminal. There's some additional expense. It's technically being housed by us because we're the applicants, but the reality is it's not being placed with us. It's actually with one of our municipal agencies. They have to have essentially a dedicated internet line that's going there. And there's also some funding that's specifically available to pay for their overtime for putting the shell casings in. Currently, if a Pinal County law enforcement officer wants to put the cases into NIBIN, they actually have to travel either to Chandler or to Mesa or to Tucson. There is nothing in Pinal County. So we made the pitch collectively with our law enforcement community that we need a local one, and ultimately the U.S. Attorney, using their discretionary funds, granted that grant. And that's what you're seeing.
Okay. That's for the benefit of the public.
Oh, absolutely. I apologize. I would have been more prepared. I was just outside, so hopefully that answers all the questions.
Thank you.
As far as RFP 241729, printing and mailing of election materials, did you have any specific questions that you'd like to go over?
So this this outfit, K&H, that's for the printing of ballots, is that correct?
That's correct.
And they're out of Washington State. Is that correct?
I'm not certain where they're located.
Okay, so for the, it says whose primary address. I'm asking you, I'm sorry. We did have a discussion this morning with staff on this. They're on Everett, Washington is their location. So this company bid on this proposal before and did not get the bid. And I understand you cannot discuss what your team uses to evaluate the bid, is that right?
I cannot discuss without the board's approval of the award of the item. I cannot discuss how the evaluation team scored each of those items. I can explain to you what capacity of the responder is, what the method approach is, and how the cost is, but I can't give you details on what comments or how that evaluation team came up with.
Okay,
with those things.
so that's our boundaries. I want to get that on the table. So in the method of approach, this year, this outfit scored 450 points in method of approach. In 2021, it was 350. It was a score in the method of approach to 2021. Could you explain what the method of approach is and why there would be a 100-point difference between the 2 years of bid?
Absolutely, and I'm going to give some general terminology. When a RFP in this situation, there is a scope of work that is developed, and that scope of work defines what it is that the department or countywide, what kind of service or goods that we're looking for. And that scope of work, the bidders will then give their proposal based upon that scope of work. And one of the sections is the method of approach. So method approach is how well did the bidder explain how they would handle certain situations, how they would be able to provide those goods and services. So that's what the team is evaluating, the how around they're going to provide those goods or services to us.
And because it's so far away, does discussion of proximity for ballot, it's not Fig Newtons, it's ballots. The proximity to Pinal County, how those are going to get here securely, is that part of the discussion?
I cannot answer that question because I wasn't involved in the evaluation, and that would be privy to the evaluation team.
Okay. And maybe the recorder would like to answer that question.
At this time, I don't think she has the ability to answer that question. She has signed disclosure agreements that she cannot share any of the information inside that solicitation until it's awarded.
Okay. And for this item, maybe we should have a exec session discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So is that a motion that you're asking?
I'll go ahead and move it. We have an exec session discussion.
Is there a second on that? I don't think so. Okay. So with that, we don't have a second. So moving forward, is there any other comments or anything of the staff or the board members in regards to the purchasing report?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Forgive me, I wasn't finished with K&H. So I have a couple of questions with respect to the purchase.
Oh, K&H, okay.
Yes.
So, wait a minute. Oh, on her report here, K&H?
It's number 4 on the report, but the K&H election services.
Okay, thank you.
So there are some news reports that that we found that talk about the difficulty of getting ballots from this particular vendor in a timely way. One is dated September 3rd, 2021. The concern was the Ventura County elections. There's another concern, October 19 of 2021, about receiving them. So that's sort of what I wanted to cover some of this in exec session. But there's some concerns out there with getting a ballot from Washington to somewhere else. We currently use Runbeck in-state, so those are my concerns. Can we get these ballots on time and securely? And that's a question you can't answer.
There again, that is something that would have been discussed amongst the evaluation team, and I cannot disclose that at this point in time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the purchasing report exclusive of item 4, and that we would set item 4 out for our next regular meeting.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Please.
Is this time sensitive?
That would be better answered by Ms. Lewis. My guess is with the upcoming preparation for elections, it would be yes, but I would
Is the presidential election?
I would defer to Ms. Lewis.
And Mr. Chair, just for point of reference, I mean, we
Yes,
order things all the time that come securely by truck. I don't see the difference between being
I
Phoenix or Everett, Washington, or Washington D.C. or wherever, because it comes, it gets here.
Okay.
And to that point, we can't just go to Runbeck up in Phoenix and say, hey, we need some more ballots. I mean, that was proven to us a couple of years ago. Yeah. So the fact that we would get ballots in a timely manner and 3-year-old reports, I think in 3 years they probably have fixed their problems as we fixed our elections.
Ms. Lewis.
Chairman Goodman, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Recorder. The question about time sensitivity of issues when onboarding a vendor in regards to ballot processing, absolutely. Time sensitivity is utmost. Right now, we already have ballots on hand for the presidential preference election. But if we were to look at being able to create a relationship with a new vendor and supplemental to the current vendor we have with Runbeck, we would need to start that process, and hence the reason that we went through the process of the RFP for this contract. If we wanted to work in tandem for upcoming elections.
Okay. I have a question. The committee that you were talking about that actually reviews all this stuff, obviously, I think, Dana, you're part of that, correct? That committee? In that process?
Chairman Goodman, the committee is selected by the department that is using it, and so those members are directly related to Ms. Lewis's direction, so yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think, is there any more questions or anything of Ms. Lewis or Mrs. Woods? Okay.
I think there's a motion on the floor. Do we need to?
Without a second.
Yeah.
Died
Without a second, so
for
it
lack of a
dies.
second.
Okay.
So it dies, and so.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the purchasing agreement as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Aye.
you.
Ayes have it.
We have to trust our employees at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, now we're on to consent items. Item number 8. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. So I myself have pulled item number G and T from the consent items. Supervisor Surtee has asked for A, G, and AH. Is there any other, Supervisor Surtee?
No.
Are those, okay. And then anybody else that you have that you want to? Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item AD, AI, and K.
Hold on a second. You're going too fast for me.
A. Adam D. David. AD.
AD, okay.
AI, artificial intelligence.
And I appreciate you looking really big when you're telling me what letter it is, so that I can see.
And then K.
K, okay. All right. Any others that any member of the board would like to pull? County manager? Anybody from the public? Mr. Revelis?
N as in Nancy.
Nancy, okay. Thank you. Any others from the public? All right. So can I get a motion moving forward? Everybody got that written down? I have G, T, AG, AH, AD, AI, K, and N. Everything else is what we're asking for to move forward. So
Just to confirm, Chairman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, was that K or was that?
K is in Kevin.
K, okay.
Kevin.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent items A through
AN.
Thank you. A through AN, with the exception of G.
AO.
It's AO.
I'm sorry, AO. My mistake. Sorry about that. Mr. Chair, let's fix that. I move we approve the consent. We approve the consent agenda A through AO. Thank you. Minus item G, T, AG, AH, AD, AI, K, and N.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, let's go to item number G. I asked this to be pulled, and for a specific reason, we're doing a bike rodeo for the youth. We've had several bikes that have been donated for this event, and we're working with the local vendors that are there, the bike shops, to help us repair these bikes, but we're also in need of some fundraiser so that we can fix these bikes up. The purpose and intent of this is to go through safety for our youth in the Santan Valley area, but also with these bikes, we can give them out to the young kids that don't have bikes. I think I've always heard every kid should have a bike. And so this is an event that we're taking place in the Home Depot parking lot there off of Hunt Highway. So I just want to do a shout out to one of our companies that is actually helping us do our, I was going to wear their tie. They gave me a quick quack tie, but I forgot it today. And so, but anyway, we appreciate the local businesses doing that. And so with that, can I get a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item G as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. And I believe the next item is T, which is mine as well. This is in regards to a discussion, approval, disapproval of an intergovernment agreement between Pinal County and the town of Queen Creek for the design and construction of Germain Road from Ironwood Road to Kenworthy. So I've lived in this area. I first moved out here in 1980. And there was a dairy that I helped build there on the corner of Germain and what is now Meridian. And so I've seen a lot of growth over the years take place. One thing that whenever the LG plant decided to come in this area and they bought that property off of Ironwood, one of the biggest concerns, not only for myself but obviously for the residents that are there, is the realignment of Germain Road. With the traffic that's already heavily that's being transferred down that area right now, and it's a rural community. Let's be real here. In fact, it's in my opinion, it's a big reason why people move into these areas, is because it still has a rural feel. So to help preserve that, over the last couple of years, we've been working with the town of Queen Creek, our Public Works Department, to actually have the realignment of that Germain Road, and we've worked with the town of Queen Creek, further north from where it currently is. And what we'll do is we'll still keep the existing Germain Road as an access road for all the residents that were within that area. I just want to do a huge shout out. This is where real government coming together to help address the concerns and the issues of our residents and the safety aspect of it all. And I just, huge shout out to the town of Queen Creek, our Public Works Department, our staff here, as well as LG and SRP, because it does affect them with those heavy power lines. And so that's the reason why I wanted to pull that and be able to recognize them specifically for that. So with that being said, that's the gist of what this is all about. So can I get a motion moving forward unless anybody else has anything that they want to say about it?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item T on the consent agenda as presented.
We have a second. You beat me to it. So,
fast.
Yeah. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, the next item is item number AG, Supervisor Kavanaugh. Oh, 30. This is you.
No, I had AG and
AH.
if we can do those together.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to hear from Dana Lewis, since we're not getting a election update. This is some things that kind of needs to be updated. 200,000 registered voters, half the polling places. So those are all set, because I know that at one time we had some shortages in the Apache Junction area. Did we ever get that straightened around?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Surdy, members of the board, in regards to the co-location of polling places in Pinal County for the presidential preference election, you are correct. We were required to reduce them by 50%. And the issue that we were talking about with the polling locations in Apache Junction were indirect effect to the primary and general election of 2024. We had to co-locate for the PPE, and we do have all of those polling locations. The reason we group them the way that we do is because of congressional districts usually, and then also we won't ever not utilize a Native American district center if we're using that.
Okay, and then the other question is the boards, and these are picked fairly, and you've got plenty of representation, and just making sure that that's all in place.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Surdy, members of the board, correct, per ARS 16531, to establish poll worker teams at each of our locations for the PPE, we must take into consideration partisanship, equal balance across various positions, experience, opportunity for cross-training of responsibilities, and of course, bringing up the next generation of civically engaged voters as poll workers. We do not currently have a poll worker software management system, so this means we accomplish this task manually. Fairness is a top priority to ensure historical poll workers stay engaged for our larger elections, but during a consolidated election where sometimes 3 polling locations have been merged, per ARS 16248, we need to select representations from each of those different polling locations.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Ms. Lewis a question?
McClure.
Yeah, me. Thank you. What is the statute? I see it's 16248D, but where we have to cut the polling places in half. I've been asked that question a bunch of times, and I can't answer that question.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, what that appears in statute is directly in regard to the presidential preference election. We currently have 5 different political parties in Arizona, and then we have independent voters. The only people who are eligible to vote in the presidential preference election are partisan of the Republican and Democratic parties. That means that cuts the amount of people who would be eligible to vote in this election election by about half, a little bit more in this case, and hence the reason statute is established to be cost savings for taxpayers.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Supervisor Miller.
may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
As I understand it, this election has no bearing on anything. I mean, the results mean nothing.
It's loaded.
We shouldn't be spending money on it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't editorialize, I guess.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, I would never say that any election doesn't have bearing on the voters, and I would actively engage voters in Pinal County to please get out and exercise their right to vote and use their voice and their opinion.
If I don't vote in it, though, is that considered is that like take me off the rolls?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, I'm not going to take away your birthday. However, again, as leaders, we typically step out for these, but you will be able to utilize your vote during the general election for your preference.
Okay. Anyway, we don't want to talk about saving money and spending taxpayers' dollars. If there was an outcome from it that meant something, that advanced the ball one way or the other, that'd be another story, but it is of no use.
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, members of the board, there are aspects in legislation that could have been enacted prior to December. If they would have thought to have moved that deadline, we could have addressed it then. At this point, we cannot.
Thank you.
Nikki Haley might get a vote.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But no, what do you do with it? It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't go to the delegates or anything.
It's a good. Thank you for reminding us of that, Supervisor Miller. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
So,
I'd move that would approve both AG and AH.
Okay, we have a motion second. Second. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Now we're on to items AD, AI, and K. Supervisor Kavanaugh.
So A, Adam, D to David, is that the one you mentioned, Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this one is the, with respect to the appointment of committee persons. And I think there was a call to the public that was mentioned as to whether the Republican Party is properly constituted. And I see Belinda Rodriguez here. I'd like her to address that, if that's appropriate, or our recorder, whoever is the most appropriate person to address that.
Actually, it's not on the agenda, so.
That would be correct. This is for the approval of the appointments of that. It does not go whether that was properly constituted or anything of that, which is, I believe, what the allegation was before at the open comment to the public. So that would not be appropriate.
So my question is, can we approve these? We haven't decided if the Republican Party is properly constituted. We have no. Let me finish. Let me finish, if you don't mind.
I might mind, but you go right ahead.
Okay. So we have this question. If we approve and later find that the Republican Party is not properly constituted, will we have to go back and reappoint these people? Is it appropriate to do so at this juncture, given the questions?
I would say yes, it is appropriate to do it at this juncture. You always have the ability to go back, and it's not uncommon for you to take resignations, reappointments, and so forth, because there was direction from the board to look into that issue, to first see, number one, whether this board even has authority in that area. So we'll have to take a look at that.
Okay.
But yes, I would say there's always a way to bring it back.
Okay. And so if we approve these today, it's not up to us whether they're acting within the authority and the scope. That's not our deal. All we're doing is approving that today, and we're not responsible for the consequences, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And to go off what you said, Chris, the direction that was given to staff was to look into it to see if we have any ability to intervene in this behalf or in investigation. That's really where I was coming from when Mrs. Carter stood up here and made the comments she did. You know, there are some things that we need to be further at, and so I see a need to go forward with this.
Mr. Chair, I'd tell you that it's in statute what we can and can't do, and that isn't there.
Okay. Well, you're not my attorney. I'm waiting for my
I know,
attorney.
but we've got.
And I don't have the statutes in front of me to confirm that, so.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay. So we've answered that. Is Supervisor Kavanaugh, does that to, it may not be to your satisfaction, but.
No, it really is.
Okay,
I was
good.
just concerned that we're doing the right thing. We don't have any any bumps that we have to.
I get it, and I appreciate that.
So
okay.
With that, I move that we approve item AD as presented.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Oh, wait. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Let's get ahead of myself. Unanimous. Okay, the next one is AI. Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recorder Lewis, would you explain AI and the importance of this, and so that the public's fully informed about voting in the presidential preference election?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Recorder. In regards to item AI, we have different types of voting in Arizona. We have early voting by mail, we have in-person early voting, we have emergency voting, and we have election day voting. This is one of the things that is required by statute that is under your purview to approve under a consent item. And we utilize recorders' offices to act as the voting locations. We utilize these specific locations because they're full-time employees staffing them. In-person early voting is a cumbersome task, and we want to make sure that the people who are doing it have been doing it and have institutional knowledge. They are certified election officials for the state of Arizona, and they've also gone through signature verification training.
Okay. Is it?
And the hours are normal operating hours for your office?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, that is correct. The normal duty day is 8 to 5.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, with that, moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item AI as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you,
It's
Chairman.
unanimous. I forgot to vote. Okay. Next one, Supervisor Kavanaugh, item number K.
This one, perhaps if Angie is still here or someone from purchasing. Oh, Ms. Manchu. I was looking. So really, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to highlight this for a couple of reasons, that the Housing Department is doing important work repairing existing homes. But if you can, we've had this discussion in the past, and it's difficult to get people to repair the houses and so on and so forth. Would you just address the whole thing and the importance of this, as well as maybe highlighting for vendors who may be able to bid? I've heard it's hard. They have to bid on every one, if I understand it. So you let us know.
Thank you. Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Kavanaugh, Board, Heather Patel with the Office of Budget and Finance. This request here is actually a supplement to our existing owner-occupied housing rehab program. Usually we cannot apply to the state for funding, but this is special state money and not federal dollars, so we were allowed to apply. This will go towards directly an emergency repair program, which is generally 1 to 2 items specifically to fix on a home if somebody's air conditioning goes out or they have to get a water heater, something of that sort. We do have, through our purchasing department, a process that we go through to get or to create an on-call list for different specialties. And so that process we completed, oh goodness, I think it was probably 6 months ago or so. So we do have some people on our list to complete the work. We will do that periodically and get new contractors or specialty contractors on board. We do have a difficult time finding plumbers and electricians specifically. And so hopefully, if we can get the word out more, we can get more of our local businesses to submit their bids or to be added to our on-call list. That would be a wonderful thing to have.
And forgive me, I think I called you Ms. Himanshu rather than Ms. Patel. So, I thank you for the explanation here.
Thank you.
And I might add to that, Supervisor Kavanaugh, I appreciate you bringing that out, because I think it's imperative, or even more important, that we do use our local vendors in regards to this. And so I haven't done a very good job to help get that message out. So I think, thank you. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. Ms. Patel, is it because vendors don't want to bid on it because it's either not big enough, or it's sometimes too small, or is it just unknown? I mean, I would think that we should have a pretty robust list of on-call vendors, but do you think it's the requirements to be an on-call vendor?
Thank you, Chairman, Supervisor Miller. We've heard a few things, actually, with electricians and plumbers specifically. They have plenty of work that they don't really feel that they need to participate in this. In other cases, sometimes it is a federal requirement when we're using federal dollars. They have to be registered in sam.gov and have a unique identifying number. And whereas this program specifically actually is state dollars, that's not a requirement. So generally speaking, people don't want to work where there's federal dollars involved because there are other restrictions involved.
Is it Davis-Bacon wages come into that?
Not on owner-occupied homes, no.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know, and I can see how that might be, I don't want to say a burden, but it might just be a step that they don't do because it just doesn't pay off that often. So, but yes. I'll get the word out.
We are always creating a list of vendors, so when we do put it out to bid, then we will notify them directly that something is out. So if you are aware of any specialty, generals, anything, encourage them to reach out to us and we can put them on our list.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So motion moving forward then.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve item K as presented.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we're on to item number N. Mr. Reveles.
Roberto Reveles, resident of Gold Canyon. First of all, I want to commend the Economic and Workforce Development Department for its work in helping to return former felons to the workforce. My question is removal of the barrier of the right to vote, or rather positively the restoration of the right to vote, part of the work that is done on behalf of returning felons?
I don't want to assume, but is there somebody here that can speak to that? Joel?
Back. I don't know.
That's a good question. So do you understand the question, Joel? What he's asking is that with moving bringing them back into the redirection program, bringing them back into society from prison, is part of that an education on how they get their rights back to vote?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Joel Millman, Director of Arizona at Work and Economic and Workforce Development Department. For this particular effort here, I'm going to have to defer to our attorney. But we're focused on the workforce aspect, but if there's a component of that that can assist in that.
This, if I am correct on this, this is really skills training to give them the necessary skills to become a productive member of the workforce in various areas that you handle, Joel, from the workforce. Yeah, I believe that what Mr. Reveles is asking would not be part of that. I'd have to verify what the scope of work was for this, but I would be really shocked if that was included as part of it, because the mission really of workforce development is to develop those skills that are necessary to help someone in interviewing also, and those skills in getting the job, as opposed to whether or not they can vote or not. I probably would say that that's probably not part of their ability to get the job, but I would have to look at that specifically.
And, Mr. Chairman, not to be argumentative, but to suggest that in my work in helping register people, for example, I'm surprised at the large number of young men in particular that tell me, I'm sorry, I can't register because I'm a former felon. And it seems to me if we're working at removing barriers to reentering the workforce, restoring their basic right to vote should not be an incidental but a purposeful service that should be included. So I commend them for helping, and I recommend that they consider helping remove one of the most basic rights we have as U.S. citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Revelis. Chris, could you guys look into that and see? What comes to my mind is here a few years ago, my brother and I was asked to write a letter in regards to this very issue, in regards of a young man that we both knew for years. And he had a patch where he ended up in prison for a little bit, and for him to get back some of his rights, this was part of the requirement. So could you look into that? And
we can have
see
the
what we can
look
do?
into that.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can I speak on that just real quick?
Yeah, I'm the boss, so yeah, come on up.
I'm Mike Summers. He brought that up. I worked with Governor Ducey on the reentry program out at Lewis and Buckeye. I've been to every prison in the state, and I'm a licensed contractor. Actually have a training facility in Lewis to teach Masons. They do, in a lot of the prisons, in the reentry program, teach them how to get their rights back. And I know that because I've been involved so heavily with Governor Ducey. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
I appreciate that. And so, us as a county, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the gentleman raised an excellent point that eluded me, and that is the reentry program. If you recall, I think it was our last meeting, we had a presentation on the county entering into a more robust reentry program and actually, trying to advocate for funding of a building and resources and so forth. They would have all those different types of stations that would help those issues. So that was really part of the other program.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just verify that and make sure that'd be great. Okay, thank you. All right. I think that's it on the consent items.
If we can get an
Vote on that one.
Well, let's do it. Thank you. That's why you're here. Keep me in line. So do we have a motion moving forward on item number N?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item N as presented.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have
Second.
a second? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wait, I'm an aye too. Okay. So it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, now, there's been a request of me to actually take item number 20. It's pretty, this is about the resigning of, so I'm going to move that up, item number 20. This is a discussion in regards to our vacancy within the Justice of the Peace Court in Maricopa. So anybody want to start off this discussion real quick?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to kick this off for
Absolutely,
to lay some of the groundwork for the board. You did receive from Justice Riggs a letter of resignation. I think it was effective last week, and it also indicated his willingness to help in any kind of transition that might be needed. But that does create a vacancy in that office, and pursuant to statute, 16-230. If a county office becomes vacant, the Board of Supervisors shall appoint a person of the same political party of the person vacating the office to fill that portion of the term until the next general election. And there's an additional portion that says if the vacancy occurs within the first 2 years of the term and before the date on which nomination paper is required to be filed, which I believe is April 8th, I think is the date for nominations, that person, you have the ability to pull paper, get nominations, and run in the primary for that. And if that person then proceeds, through the primary, they would have the position and be sworn in under oath at that point in time. So it's by statute that you are to appoint a person of the same political party. Those are requirements. We have done this before in the past, and I think Natasha has some information on how the board has handled those various different ways that are available to you, whether you want to submit someone to apply for it, gives the qualifications, you want to create a committee of some sort or something. But I believe we've done this, Natasha, correct me, but at least twice in the past few years.
So, Natasha, if I could just ask a question. Okay, by statute we have requirements. Is there a time frame on that?
It doesn't require any specific time period. I would probably caution you to not wait, only from the standpoint of, depending on who fills that role, you're currently having a pro tem in that role
Right.
from the Superior Court. And for continuity purposes, it's usually better to get someone in that's going to be there for a while, that knows the operation, works with the clerks and so forth and that. So.
But my question is, I guess part of my question is, with it so close to the election, and we don't know who we know of one person so far that has had an interest that filed. What is it that they call an application of interest or signature? Yeah, thank you. Keep me in line. And so I want to, I guess, as we have this discussion amongst us, it is within the time frame that you're talking about that. No matter what happens in this appointment, at the whatever we decide when to do this, there is the election coming up that whoever's in there or wants to run for it still has to go through the process.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Is there anybody, Supervisor Miller, and then I want to come to Natasha too on the process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I basically have a question. I don't know who wants to answer it, though. How have we notified the public of this vacancy? I mean, is there a notification component to this that the county?
I'm not aware that we have we?
You have not yet, because you have not accepted the resignation yet to create a position to go ahead and advertise for, or to put it on the web page and so forth.
Okay. So we haven't accepted the resignation. He's submitted the letter last week.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just say we tell him that you got to stick it out, man. Tough it up. No, I'm kidding.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll need to have another meeting and an agenda item to discuss the procedures for filling, background check, advertisement. I think you can direct, and Mr. Keller can correct us if we're not thinking right here. But you can direct the advertisement to go out for applicants as appropriate. But then we'll need to set up another agenda item to approve a process, I assume, or not.
Is that correct, the way this agenda item is written?
The agenda item was written with enough flexibility, I believe, at this time. Discussion of the process for filling the vacancy. It depends on how formal that process was. If you want additional feedback from the rest of the board on this, but it depends on how. I can't specifically say yes or no. It's not until I know what your process is you're thinking of.
Okay.
So Mr. Chair, in the past, when we did it for the House of Representatives, we took applications and we interviewed them and then chose the person we thought was the best for the job. So would that not probably be the same process we'd go through here? Open it up for applications, people would apply, we'd interview, and we'd choose the right person.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Miller.
I thought for the House of Representatives, the PCs were involved.
That is true. The PCs picked them and put them up, but they gave us like a few people. They gave us like
Correct.
2 each.
And you do not have that process in this.
We don't have that in this process.
Yeah.
But we can set a kind of a time, applications by such and such a date, and moving forward in our motion today.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's why
Read it now. I'm a little more clear.
And Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, that's why I hesitated. If your action was to, to open up the application process and have it closed by X date, that's an appropriate motion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Supervisor Kavanaugh.
In the past, we did establish a committee for appointing a justice of the peace consisting of the Board of Supervisor member whose district overlaps the Justice District. In this case, it would be mine and Supervisor Miller. So I think that's wise, because otherwise we'll be interviewing people, potentially if we had three or more, we'd have to notify a public meeting.
Right.
And it'd be more appropriate to have a two-person team do that.
That's true. I'd forgotten that, because Supervisor Kavanaugh and I did that for one.
Yeah, and that's the same way with Supervisor Rios and I did. We actually did two of those. So, Natasha, weigh in on it. Give us an idea of what we've done in the past and help. A bunch of old guys, and so we need to be reminded of things.
Thank you, Chairman. Board members, in the past, the board has set a committee. That committee has consisted of the supervisors representing that particular district to fill it. Typically, the advertisement goes out the next day. If that is what the board would like, that description has already been created for you. That is done by the clerk of the board office. That application normally runs for about a month on the county's website, and with assistance from the actual communications and marketing department advertising it as well.
Okay. Does that help everybody?
And Chairman, if I may, that is just a recommendation. The actual final action is brought to the board for a vote for the appointee.
Right. And I think that's where any time that any of us sat on those committees in search of whoever was going to fill that spot, I think that's what we ended up doing, was coming back to the board and saying, this is what our findings are. This is who we recommend. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And one other thing in reference to Supervisor Kavanaugh's statement that he made referencing background checks, that process does indeed include a background check for applicants as well.
Okay. Perfect.
And forgive me if I missed it, how long did we typically leave the application process open?
For about a month.
1 month, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which ought to be plenty for us to get the messaging out, I'm thinking. Okay.
I'm just looking at the calendar.
All right. So this is a discussion and also a disapproval or approval of accepting his resignation, first of all. But then I think part of that probably should be given some direction on what we can do, or, on what to do, okay? So whoever's going to be making that motion.
Mr. Chairman, would you please display the item, Natasha, on the screen? Is it on here? Am I missing it?
It's number 20. Sorry about that.
Okay. So my motion would be to approve item number 20, discussion approval, disapproval of the acceptance of the resignation of Western Pinal Justice Court, the Honorable J.P. Lyle Riggs, effective February 2nd, 2024, and to the discussion of the process of filling the vacancy to ARS 16-230, as well as opening an advertisement for the position, advertising and opening the position for applicants between February 8th, 2024 and March 8th, 2024, which is a Friday. Further, that the interviews will be conducted by a committee of two consisting of Supervisor Miller and Supervisor Kavanaugh. And then I would ask for other friendly amendments.
If Lyle's able to, he's not, okay.
You can't have them on the committee.
Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. Well, is that
Mr.
right?
Miller has a friendly amendment, I believe.
Supervisor Miller.
Well, I want to talk about the time, from the time the advertising is released or put forth to the public and to the close date. I don't know. I just think that we should move a little bit quicker on this because I think we only have about a 30-day window, do we not, Mr. Counselor?
There is not a requirement in statute as to how fast you must move to,
Okay, then I
appoint that.
Okay, then I was wrong on that. But I just was thinking that we would have the close date in the first week of March so that by
As far as the application date?
yeah, and then that would give, because then we wouldn't review anything until after the date was closed. The committee of two would review the applications. I suspect we may bring back a recommendation, and we may not, but we may. But I think that action ought to be taken around, I was shooting for the 6th of March, but maybe it wouldn't be until the 20th of March.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm
trying to make it.
That would allow, sorry, Mr. Chairman, that would probably allow time to get them on the primary ballot, because that's what we were discussing earlier.
Right, and that's another thing that way that would allow. So I need to plug in those, as a friendly amendment, plug in those dates.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I've heard Supervisor Miller correctly, we will close the advertisement on March 8th. The time between March 8 and March 19, we will interview and deliberate and deliver to the board a recommendation on March 2024. And I have an amendment also, if no one else has another amendment.
That looks good. For the dates, looks good.
Okay. So my final amendment is to honor Judge Lyle Riggs, who has honorably served in this position, who has corrected problems within the court, who has served his community honorably and with distinction. So I would add that to the motion we're making today.
Okay. Natasha, is that a good motion? We're good to go?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. So do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. With that, with what you said, Supervisor Kavanaugh, it would be kind of nice if we had some kind of a ceremony or something along with his family on that date with the Riggs.
So, Natasha, I would move to.
Well, we don't need. I think I'm just giving some direction to staff. That's all. That's all I was doing.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Let's do this.
All right. Now we're on item number. We got to go back. Item number 9. This is our. Is it our public health?
Flood control.
Oh. Thank you, brother. Okay. So we're going to recess our board of Supervisors meeting, and we'll now go directly into the Pinal County Flood Control District. So it appears, so we have consent items to go through. So any items that are indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or member of the public objects at the time that the agenda item is presented. We have 2 items, I believe, right? Yes.
A and B.
A and B. So does anybody want to pull anything for discussion? County manager, public? Being that there's none, can I have a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent items in the Flood Control District.
Do we have a motion second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll close the Pinal County Flood District, and now we'll open up the Pinal County Public Health Services District. So what we have here on the agenda is consent items. And so with that being said, I'll read this out loud. Any item is indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or any member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. So, board members, anything that you would want to call and pull? County manager? Anybody from the public? All right. Motion moving forward then, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve consent items A through B on the Public Health Services District.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we close the Pinal County Public Health Services and we revene our Pinal County Board of Supervisor meeting, going to item number 11. Okay. We got there.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Patrick Roberts, Senior Planner. I'm going to be presenting case PZ 04623 and PZPD 00123, items 11 and 12 together. This is for applications for a commercial complex. You can pull up the slideshow here. This is for a project called Santan 3 Commercial Complex in batting cages. So the applicant for this case is Fern Vossi, the landowner for this property is Fern Vossi, with the applicant Jessica Sarkeesian from Upfront Planning and Entitlements, requesting a rezoning of 2.65 acres from GR, General Rural Zone, to C3, General Commercial Zoning District, with inclusion of a PAD, Planned Area Development Overlay District, to allow development of a commercial complex. This is in section 20, Township 2 South, Range 8 East, on tax parcels 104-22-041A and 104-22-041B. This is on the southwest corner of Ocotillo Road and Kenworthy Road in the Santan Valley area. And this property is about a mile east of incorporated Queen Creek in the Santan Valley area as well. This is a map showing the approximate location of the property in question in the county, and a vicinity map showing the surrounding zoning and subject property. This is an aerial map showing the two parcels in question. And a zoning map showing the precise changes proposed. This is a change from general rural on that southwest corner, with a proposal to change the zoning to C3 PAD. The Santan Valley Special Area Plan designates this as a rural living classification. Commercial uses are allowed in service to rural residents with a maximum of 5 acres proposed. So this does comply with the Santan Valley Special Area Plan. This is a proposed site plan that would show the proposed layout for the development. Staff has noted that it provides adequate internal circulation and access to both the Ocotillo Road and Kenworthy Road. This is a list of proposed changes to development standards. The PAD would alter the front setback requirement to 10 feet and restrict and allow certain uses, including a batting cage or indoor batting cage business on the property. We're also altering the side setbacks to 10 feet for rural residential, which wouldn't be a requirement for this case. This is a list of permitted uses under C3. With the PAD proposal. Staff notes that per the applicant's request, wireless communication facilities would not be permitted under the new PAD. This is an image looking north on the property. The property to the north there was recently redesignated to multi-residential for the Elux and Ocotillo multifamily site. Looking north up Kenworthy, south onto the property, south down Kenworthy, east on Ocotillo, and east across Kenworthy towards the property owned by the LDS Church, west down Ocotillo, west from Kenworthy, towards the neighboring residential.
We have a question for you. Supervisor Surtee.
Looking at those overhead lines, will those interfere, or are there plans to underground those? I saw them in some of this infrastructure.
The one where the apartments are going.
That shouldn't be an impact to this site, since this is for the south.
That's on the other side. Okay,
corner.
Just making sure.
I suppose it could be an issue for the Elux development, but that would be addressed at site plan review.
Thank you.
And that was, and if I remember right, on those apartments, that was part of the stipulation that those need to be buried for the expansion of the roads that needs to take place there.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So items for board consideration. The submittal of this application is for a land use change request for approval of a rezoning and a PAD amendment. If the applications are approved, the subject property will be rezoned from GR to C3 PAD and allow commercial development on 2.65 acres of land. This property has legal access and functional circulation. The project provides for commercial services targeted towards existing and developing residential uses. The approved multifamily development to the north introduces a need for commercial developments in this area. Ocotillo and Kenworthy roads both classify as principal arterial roadways and meet the Santan Valley Special Area Plan check for commercial compatibility and rural living designations. To date, and I should amend this, we've received 21 letters of 21 oppositions to this case from 11 households. There has been many issues that have been cited for the issues with this case going forward. There was a desire for rural housing in this area, concern over loss of rural setting, a decline of property values, opposition to commercial development in this location, concern over increases in traffic in the area, concern over responsibility of road maintenance, and concern with residential and commercial mixed development in this location. A concern was raised by a resident during the prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing regarding applicability of a deadline for public comment submittals. These concerns were addressed with the neighbors, and clarification was made that staff receives all comments up until time of the hearing. In fact, we received a majority of those 21 opposition letters yesterday, and have included this in the case file going forward. We've also adopted changes to our notice of hearing documents that would limit these kinds of concerns in the future, limit future misunderstandings. At the December 21st Planning and Zoning Commission, the Commission forwarded this case with no recommendation due to two separate failed motions for denial and approval, both tied 4-4 both times. And staff recommends approval of PZ 04623 with one stipulation and PZPD 00123 with 11 stipulations. I would like to point out the addition of stipulation 11, which was included by staff to address a lot of neighbor concerns. This would significantly limit the permitted uses to those listed in stipulation 11 and restrict some uses that members of the public believed were concerning for this location. this time, does the board have any questions of staff?
Board, any of staff? Okay. Oh, is the applicant here?
They are.
Maybe we can get some.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Sarkissian with Upfront Planning. Not that one. Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time to hear our case. So this is a Santan 3 commercial property. Is it this one? So here's the vicinity map. As Patrick went about discussing with you, you can see here on Ocotillo and Kenworthy. To the north is the multifamily going in, and then there is large commercial areas that are directly to the west, as well as some modified items that are going on to the south side of Ocotillo. Ocotillo is a road of regional significance, so it's going to be improved to full major arterial capacity with right turn lanes and left turn lanes. It is in the process through Gilbert, Chandler, and I believe also Tempe, if it goes that far, being improved to this designation. It just hasn't, I believe it's stopped over just to the west right now, but it's going to be going through the site. Again, here's the site, Ocotillo and Kenworthy. So Ocotillo, again, it has a right turn lane right now and a left turn lane. Future improvements are underway that we're going to take over a lot of that roadway right there and extend that. So this is a major intersection. This is a request from GR to C3PAD. The entrances are specified off of Ocotillo and Kenworthy due to access locations. They are fixed and will not be able to move. They are right in, right out. The site will be accommodating drainage flows for the area. There are 3 separate buildings proposed, including an indoor batting cages. Landscaping is provided around the site, interior to the site, and parking areas around the buildings. And the permitted use list, we have gone, since the Planning Commission meeting, we worked with staff to create an additional stipulation to further address some of their concerns about the uses. So that permitted use list we are fine with. We want to make sure everything was compatible with the adjacent church property, as well as the proposal for the batting cages to make sure it is family friendly. The reason we are requesting the deviations to the front yard and the side yard are because of the massive intersection. We're going to be losing a significant amount of property on those roads, and so it does quite restrict the site. So we're all trying to make sure we can get circulation through there and maintain all retention and setbacks. Otherwise, those are the landscaping. Those are the areas that we're looking at changing. So here's the current existing zoning. It is GR, and you can see the MR to the north, and you have the commercial, which where the church is, and you do have CR3 surrounding in the area with higher density residential going on. This is kind of like it is a county island, it's in the county, but this is how you would say is some of the it's a larger lot rural around us. So the proposal is to do the C3 PAD, and because of that strip, if it's a little weird looking, that's just because of the right-of-way, which has already been dedicated in certain areas versus others. The site plan here shows the 2 access points off of Ocotillo and Kenworthy. This is not the pretty plan I can show you later on, but we do have the batting cages is in the lower right-hand corner. The Quarter Horse Trail, which is directly to the south, accesses the neighborhood to the west and south of us, and there's no access onto that, as well as the fact that there will be a smaller block wall along that road in the parking area, so there'll be no people be able to go through there. Here is the landscaping plan proposed. The last discussion, there were some issues about the water access here, and so currently they park on the roadway, and in the future, when this is improved, they would be able to access their trucks through the DG coming into the site and have full access to it. There'd be no impeding of using the well there for turning it on and off and things like that. And so that would maintain as long as they need access to it and it is active. Yes?
You're talking about the Queen Creek Water District there, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That big in Patrick's, when it had the big cinder block thing, yes. So that. And we want to make sure that they can get their truck access in there as well, so they can get ladders and everything else they need and get on top of there and maintain it. So here's the site laid over the aerial, just so you can see the relation to it. That last discussion at the commission, we were also discussing possibly leaving the batting cages where they are, but possibly readjusting some of the buildings to face more of Ocotillo. that could be done at the next process and site plan. It would not, none of the square footages would change. It's restricted by parking. The uses would not change. We're just trying to see if we can make it more compatible with the neighbors, with their desires and wishes, but we haven't really had too much feedback from them. So we're trying to do the best we can with understanding that they just want to keep it rural. With this site, per requirements for the code, we are going to be putting a cinder block wall along the west side of the property, because you have to have that adjacent to residential and commercial. And then we are maintaining trees and landscaping in this area as well as the retention off of Ocotillo and Kenworthy. We had one neighborhood meeting with a 1,200-foot buffer notice. We had 13-plus people attend in November. We had 11 letters of support, just so you understand. The letters of support are mostly in the community. They are not specifically directly adjacent, as you understand. But these are letters of support from people who would utilize the site, who are feeling there is a need for this type of use here and would frequent it. So here's a sign-in sheet, just so you understand. I'm sure you'll see. So these are the neighborhood meeting when we attended in November, trying to get discussions going. And obviously, as you've heard probably from the opposition letters, that the comment through the entire time has always just been to leave it rural and put a large lot home on it, despite it being at the intersection of our regional significant route. So here's the updated permitted use list. As we mentioned, we're going to add we just wanted to clarify that we're at indoor batting cages was in there for interpretation, make sure, but it also allows offices, parks, private schools, restaurants. Restaurants, the only way a restaurant would be allowed to be in there is if we removed one of the buildings, because parking calculation-wise, it will not fit. So, but that is not the intent. The intent is we were looking at the indoor batting cage, retail office, medical office would be is one that we're perfectly looking at as well. And the other comment I just wanted to bring up was the fact that there was some discussion and questions about height. In this zoning district, it is allowed up to 40 feet. The neighbors are allowed up to 30 feet. We would be willing to restrict our height because we do not anticipate two-story uses. Based on research for the potential uses for the commercial and office and the requirements for the batting cage height, we would be fine with a 20-foot stipulation on building height, just to further pacify and help them understand that we want to be good neighbors. And then before I go on to questions, I just wanted to show you some examples. I wasn't able to show the other examples before, but extra innings in Mesa, I believe it's at Val Vista and Southern. This is an example. This building is 33,000 square feet. We are proposing one which is less than half of that. Batting cages are 12 feet tall, but this is a typical operations. You get kids in there and they line them up. And the goal of this project, the owner will tell you about his operation and what he envisions for it, but they typically will get people in there and they'll be training one-on-one with these kids, and they'll be giving guidance and things like that. Previously, it was mentioned that some of them felt that there was 15 kids to a cage, which would be unrealistic. You're never going to get a chance to bat. So they're restricted. They have time slots, and then he also have personal training, which would occur in here for some of these kids, and also after-school activities. So I just wanted to let you know, have some pictures of examples of what the inside of that one of those looks like. But if you guys have any questions for me, or I can have the owner also come up and he can give some information about what he looks to do.
I think having the owner come up and
talk
a little bit about what his vision is of all of this.
Perfect.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me today. My name is Mike Acquisto. I will be operating the batting cage. Just give you a little history on me. I've been a school teacher in junior high, middle school, and high school for 17 years. Coach in high school and college for 19 years. I currently work for the Combs Unified School District at the middle school level here in Pinal County as well. I'm a college athlete. I graduated from ASU with a history degree. I ran a youth mentorship there called 21st Century, as well as youth entrepreneurship. And we have a claim to fame. We actually got a kid to Harvard from South Phoenix when I ran that program down there. I'm the director of a Christian-based organization called Knights Elite Baseball currently, and we're the largest in the Pinal County area as far as youth baseball and softball go. As far as our visions go, is to service boys, girls, and families. improve health, build relationships with families. This is me being an athlete all my life. The one thing I think that Pinal County lacks is my son, who's now 13, started at Santan Little League. But the league was so small that we had to move to Queen Creek to play pony baseball because of the accessibility to fields and opportunities and even overall interest because of what the Pinal County area has lacked in this capacity. Also addressing what was said about the amount of occupants at one time. Average will probably be 3 kids per cage, so it won't be, the parking lot won't be, and I sent some pictures that weren't able to make it into the PowerPoint of extra innings and some other batting cages of how many kids are in the cages at one time. Also to address me being a Pinal County resident, when I moved to Pinal County and Santan Valley, we didn't have Safeway. I could see the Superstition Mountains, it's grown to address the property values going down. Our property value with Safeway going in and now a Chipotle going in, these are businesses that are right up against our residents, our property values have increased because people want to move to this county. People want to move to this area. This is a great area, a great place to raise kids. The average family age of families is 34.7 years of age, which the largest population of people having kids is 20 to 29, which has an average age kid of 10 to 15 years old. That's the target audience that we're looking for, is to bring in families into this. I know I train with my son one-on-one and my daughter one-on-one 3 or 4 times a week, and I have to drive all the way to Mesa to extra innings on the pictures that you saw there. We definitely want this to be a local community feel place, and respect everyone in our community and all the people who live there at the same time, because I also love that feeling as well, but I also understand that we need things for kids. Preston Lord case is very personal to me because he's part of our Combs School District, and we need to give kids things to do in our area and things like this that's a safe environment. We have Lloyd Turner, who's the current hitting coach for the Oakland A's, who's going to work out of this facility. We have Gabriel Ortiz, who's a current catching coach for the Oakland A's, who's going to work out of the facility. Ralph Michoni, who's one of the scouts for the Tampa Bay Rays. We have Josh Johnson, who's a 3-time MLB All-Star and Cy Young Award winner. He's one of our coaches. So we have a good pedigree of people, and we're going to bring a good product to this environment with the respect of everyone around us, for sure. Let's see if there's anything else I want to... As far as noise goes, you're not going to hear any noise outside of the facility. Let's see. Even from when I moved here, in 2000, our numbers were 4,900 people. We are now at 100,682 residents as of 2020. We are growing. We need things like this for our youth. This is 95,000 people in a 20-year span of people have moved to this area, and it's not slowing down. So, I guess we just want to make sure that the entire community is represented, because we have a lot of people that would love to have been here, but they have jobs like I do. I had to take a day off to come here and speak. So one last thing, we are applying for the 21st Century Grant, which gives, it's an after-school program. It's a 3-year commitment that kids come. I ran it for South Point High School in Phoenix. It's an after-school program where kids come in for a couple hours. They have professional and certified teachers like myself teach their kids and make sure they have a healthy, safe environment to not only fight child obesity, but also to educate and give tutoring opportunities as well. My wife is also in the Pinal County area she is a principal for Apache Junction, and she deals with troubled children. I've read some of your guys' backgrounds, and I know that that's some of your guys' background as well, and it's really, really important to us that we service that. We have families in Maricopa that travel all the way here. Casa Grande, we have a team in Casa Grande that's there as well. We have whoever represents Eloy, one of our kids there from Eloy is the number one 12U wrestler in the state of Arizona, and he comes to us and he works out with us as well. So the well-being and health and us servicing Pinal County is really what we're trying to do for sure. So,
in your background check, which one of us was a troubled teenager? If not all of us. I'm kidding.
I can tell you it's
Miller.
Mr. Miller. Yeah, he worked. I did see that. So, and I know that you guys are very. Am I correct?
And a wrestler.
Yeah, my dad was a wrestler. I went the baseball route, but
Okay.
But yeah. So I hope if you have any questions for me, I'd love to answer any questions.
I'm good at this point. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. And if we need to have further discussion when we get more into this, we'll have you come back up, okay?
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for doing that. Any ties to Brock Purdy and helping him out with his throwing arm? Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, and so we're going to, both item number 11 and 12, we're going to allow the public to come and speak in regards to this. And so I have 4 cards. That doesn't mean that you had to fill out a card if you want to come up and speak. So, but the first one I have is Kimberly Barnby. Morning, Kimberly. Hey, and if you could just state your name and kind of the close proximity where you live. That'll do it.
My name is Kimberly Barnby. I live at 1714 East Quarter Horse Trail. I live at the house directly west of this proposed property.
Okay.
So nearly all of the residents in the surrounding area neighborhoods are completely opposed to the addition of this commercial property. It does not fit our community. It will cause traffic and safety problems and decrease property values. During the Planning Commission meeting, a speaker indicated that due to the property's location and small size, this will be a right-out only. This will wreak havoc on our private roads, Quarter Horse and Painted Horse, as vehicles leaving this area will turn down our dead-end streets, causing unwanted traffic and congestion. There are 6 retail shops that are going to be squeezed into this incredibly small area that are undetermined. Being that they are requesting a C3 zoning, the least restriction, almost anything can go into these spaces. The biggest fears that the community has is if the rezoning is passed, that when the batting cages go out of business, what will take its place? I urge you to disapprove the proposed rezoning from the recent meetings and discussions with my neighbors. I know that my opinions are shared by many who have not managed to attend meetings or write letters or emails. Thank you for your continued service and support of our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the other one, the next one I have is Irvin Sloboa. Did I pronounce that right? Thank you. I'm terrible at names, and so when I get it right, I want to make sure that it's on public record. So
it's a good one to say.
All right, thank you.
I'm opposed to this facility, obviously. I don't believe that Kenworthy is going to be a major road because it dead ends just south of Ocotillo, and it doesn't go past Germain right now, and I don't know if it ever will. And there are just less than a mile away to the west is the intersection that is commercial. You have Ironwood and Ocotillo. You have 4 corners there that are full of commercial businesses, and one of them has a brand new Goodwill store that just opened in the past 2 years, and a new feed store that just opened up. So there's spaces in those commercial corners that can take more business, especially the southwest corner where there's only a gas station, a convenience store, and a plant nursery. There are, in those corners, there are 3 pizza places, 10 eating place facilities, 3 nail salons, 5 dentists, 2 fitness gyms, 2 coffee shops, 2 auto repair shops, 2 gas stations, 2 convenience stores, and 2 drugstores, along with a lot of other businesses too. So I just don't think that it'd be good for the residential neighborhood to have a commercial place on the corner. It just increases traffic when there's a commercial corner just less than a mile away to the west.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Appreciate you coming forward. I'm taking, if I appear to be looking down, it's because I'm taking some notes, okay? It's not that I'm not listening, all right? I'm just taking some notes. Andy Soul.
Good afternoon, Chairman Goodman and the board. I live at 1675 East Quarter Horse Trail. I'm directly to the south of the proposed project. I feel like the plaintiff is, or the people for it, they've brought this to you, and this batting cage and all this good stuff that they're going to do. I just at the end, when it doesn't work, or if it doesn't work at some point, there's a lot of other things that can go in there. This is a rule setting where we're at. The last time I was here, we talked about the apartments that went in across the street, and one of the comments that was made by the board was that we're not going to do this anymore. Getting in control of our county and understanding where we need to have commercial property and where we need to keep our rural zoning. I have horses on my property, which is right across the street. You can only imagine fighting off the people that want to come and pet the horses as it is now, add a bunch of kids. I know there's going to be a wall there, as she spoke to. It's just not fitting for our area. The property was sold. It was sold for an exorbitant amount of money before this was even changed, before this zoning has come before you. That to me, I'm just an American citizen. It just seems a little suspect. Also, I feel that if it is passed, it's going to degrade the area, and we're going to lose more and more of our rural setting. We just gave away 20-some acres across the street that is now no longer rural setting. As you see on that map, you can see that we have those areas, those cluster areas. They're just getting smaller and smaller as we go along. The traffic there is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be right out, right in. Yeah, I get it. He speaks to that there'll only be 3 people per lane. They told us earlier at the beginning it was going to be up to 8 per lane. That's going to make the kids and the parents, right? Because these kids are going to come there. If it is a batting cage, it'll be kids being brought there by their parents. There's not a lot of parking there. And that not to mention what else they're going to put in there. With the zoning change, this is it just seems like a wool, right? Until they decide they get it changed, and they can do whatever they want. They're not specified to put a batting cage in there. Once the zoning is changed, then they have other options to change it out. This was always going to be 1.5 acres. Kimberly lives right next door to it. Not 1.5 acres, but the small rural farm setting. Kimberly lives right next door to it. No difference for anything that's there. She has goats, chickens, and dogs, and her kids. And we're across the street. We have horses and dogs. Thank you for your time, guys.
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Do you have any questions for me or no?
No,
Okay.
not at this time. Thank you. And then Michael J. Summer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. I appreciate the time to speak on this. My name's Michael John Summers. I live at 1611 East Quarter Horse. The road just to the south of the new proposed C3. I live at the end. It's a dead-end street. Quarter Horse Trail, dead ends at my house. And I have double driveways. Today, I still get people driving down that road and flipping around in my driveways. I had to put gates up, and I'm in the process of putting motorized gates to keep people from flipping in my driveway. You talked about people dumping trash. I have a blue dumpster right out in the front. People, I catch them all the time. But my concern is I bought that as residential. When I bought it 7 years ago, and I've lived in Pinal County over 20, and I've always lived on 2.5 acres plus. I live on 5 now. And my son went to Combs High School. He played ball at Combs High School. He played travel ball all over the United States. We went to batting cages right there at Ellsworth and Germain. It went out of business 2 years later, and the coach at Combs High School owned it. Cars are parked up and down the street. There's not enough parking. The in and out of that complex is going to go right. Our street's the next one. Everybody's going to pull in there to flip a U-turn. Our road is private. It is not county maintained. We had to pay to pave it. We pay to maintain it. And they're all going to park there. And they also stated they're only putting a low wall, which a wall ain't going to matter. Kids are going to jump it. Parents are going to park there to pick their kids up. When my son was playing ball and I was taking him to every batting cage around, there was always, private service, 1 kid. Generally, our club ball team brought all age groups and rented the whole place, which had 60 kids in it at one time. There's always more than 1 or 2 kids in it. Not using it at the same time. They do it for 2 minutes. You do it for 2 minutes. You do it. You just line up. So the traffic up and down our street is going to be horrendous. I have cattle. I have horses. I have a roping arena. You know, I'm worried about the safety of my animals, my dogs, my kids, my grandkids. You know, I bought that on a dead-end street for a reason. And now we're going to turn it commercial on the corner. There's plenty of other commercial sites around Pinal County in that area sitting totally vacant. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak in regards to this? Okay, seeing that there's none, we're going to close the public hearing. I have a few questions of staff, and also I'm going to come back to the applicant, but, you know, there was a comment about, and that's part of some of the issues around some of this, is people think that the roads aren't going to go through, or we're not going to widen roads or anything else of that nature. Can you talk about Kenworthy? And actually, the new bridge is going in right now as we speak over the Queen Creek, so the connectivity between Combs Road all the way down to Germain is going to be completely tied in. We're even doing some improvements, if I'm not mistaken, with curbs along. So, Chris, maybe you can talk about some of the improvements that are currently going with what we're doing with Kenworthy.
Yeah, Chris Wanamaker.
While you're at it, too, talk about Ocotillo, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Chris Wanamaker, County Engineer. Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. So you're correct. Kenworthy Road, the bridge crossing on the Queen Creek Wash is actually under construction right now, and in the not too distant future, we'll have a connection from Ocotillo all the way down to Combs Road. Now, the road will only be 2 lanes. There are no plans to widen or improve Kenworthy Road beyond just the 2 lanes. Ocotillo Road, however, is a different story. That ultimately is planned to be, like the applicant mentioned, a major arterial east-west connection, which will eventually connect to the future proposed Arizona Central Parkway that is planned to follow the Cap Canal. And then with regards to Kenworthy connecting to the north, which I know there's a lot of concern about that for regional traffic. As you mentioned earlier in this board meeting, we are working with LG in town of Queen Creek, and we are planning to offset Germain Road. In the ultimate configuration, we're not planning for Kenworthy to actually connect to Germain Road. We want to maintain that separation of regional versus local traffic. Now, this particular development, they will be making their half-street improvements to Ocotillo Road. Their traffic report is still in review. It's not approved yet. We typically don't approve those traffic reports at this stage because the site plan process will refine that plan of development much more until we get to a point of approval and agreement. The access onto Ocotillo will be limited to a right-in, right-out, and that's to maintain efficiency of regional traffic, but they will have full access on Kenworthy, and that really is going to be their primary means of getting in and out. So are there any other questions?
Yeah. One of the comments was in regards to the apartment complex that was approved by this board here a few months ago. First of all, that was rezoned from a residential subdivision to a multifamily, correct? It was not a commercial piece.
I'm not sure what the former zoning was. Do you know in that case?
On the one across the street.
Chairman, I believe that's accurate.
Okay, and so with the apartment complex that's going in there, they're going to be required when they come in with their site plans and everything else is to bury those lines so that we can get the appropriate amount of property right of way to be able to put in a 5-lane road.
If you're referring to the SRP power lines, so there's the 12 kilovolt like service lines, those will be buried, but the larger 69 kilovolt power lines will not. Those will actually be relocated, and years of negotiation with SRP has already occurred on the configuration of that transmission line and the roadway. So they will be making the roadway improvements, and they'll be adding a turn lane actually on Kenworthy as well.
Okay.
And the signal improvements.
Okay, and I guess the thing that has been, I mean, I've been in this position for 7 years. Like I said earlier, I moved out this area in 1980, was there until 87, and then moved out for a little while. Came back in 09 and bought the property where we're living right now, which is a small little ranchette community. And being out farming and running my tractor up and down out there with the old Empire Fruit Farm, looking and trying to make sense of it all, the way things were just put here, without, in my opinion, without any really planning or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is we were stuck in a rock and a hard spot on some of our roads and infrastructure. And so that's something, and we didn't have the dollars available at the time either to build the roads properly. Mm-hmm. So as I'm looking at this, and one of our biggest thing is to use development to help us when it comes to improving our roads and making them more safe and appropriate for the amount of traffic. I just wanted to make sure that the public is aware that we are taking probably in leaps and bounds efforts to help move traffic properly and safely, and that's with the improvements of these roads. So that's one thing I wanted to, because there was a couple of comments here regarding Ocotillo and also. Now, will there be a 4-way stop there? I mean, light.
There will be a traffic signal at Kenworthy and Ocotillo, which the apartment complex is primarily responsible for, since the majority of the traffic impacts to this area is as a result of that development. So, but as far as this development is concerned, that's still being worked out as through the traffic impact analysis. That's, like I was mentioned, is still in review.
But they'll be required, if this is passed, they'll be required to participate in that as well, right?
Yeah, most likely, yeah, because of their traffic volume impacts, yeah.
And then to the east of the property on the other side, the LDS Church owns, right? And do you know what the plans are there?
I'm not aware of any specific plans for the southeast corner at this time.
Okay,
so.
All right. Okay, is the applicant, I have another question, and then I'll turn it over to my board members if they have any. You know, being an individual that lives in a rural area and then looking at the congestion we get on our current traffic, okay, one that just is something that just, irks me, is Chandler Heights. That was designated as an arterial road to help get our direction east and west. And it was residents that were my neighbors, my friends, that opposed that with the town of Queen Creek. And so there's no connectivity now between the end of Chandler Heights, which is a rural community right there, and to Meridian Road. And whenever issues are centered around traffic or anything else like that, they have a tendency to go through the neighborhood there and drive like a bat out of hell. I mean, let's just be real how it is. And so this is something that we need to stay ahead of and look at. Now, there is a subdivision just going to the north of me, Red Fern Road, and I was very adamant that if my neighbors were in favor of it, that road needed to go all the way through to Meridian. We've worked with the town of Queen Creek and everybody else so that we can have that connectivity. My question to you is we as a rural community wanted to avoid any kind of traffic coming down with that development coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And the applicant's here, and I have a question for you. They already have a problem with people coming down into their neck of the woods.
Correct.
And I get it, where they're coming from. Would you be willing to put some kind of a gate or something up that they just exclusively have for their own access?
Well, that would be a discussion with the attorneys, as we don't have control over that right-of-way. We're not part of that right-of-way. I don't know if there's a discussion or some kind of agreement where we could pay for it for them, but that hasn't come up with the neighbors at all.
That may come up later on, but
Mhm.
I'm just making our staff and everybody, because, obviously the changes that are taking place in these areas, and I get it, there has to be some changes because it's just not adequate the way it is right now, bottom line. And so, when we look at our retail leakage and everything else like that, we've got to have more commercial properties, in my opinion. So, anyway, you'll address that later and make that part of it?
It's up to what we're allowed to do for a gate. I don't even know if the neighbors would want a gate on their property.
Yeah.
That's something I can't, I wouldn't want to put that as something we can't promise or they don't even want or any of that stuff right now, because it is, like they mentioned, it is not dedicated right away. I don't know if there's any conversation with the attorneys, but we can do as much as we can to mitigate that impact. Because like you said, there's an existing issue right there already. I was just talking to the staff. Because that is considered the rear of our property, we can put in a taller fence. We can put in more mitigation measures to keep, because it's going to prevent. No mom wants to pick up their kid in front of a block wall fence and not know what's going on the other side. That wouldn't be like an area for that. So, and then with the light there, it's just going to be a lot easier for them to go around and then having to fight whoever's in the left turn lane on North Kenworthy going in there. So there's different ways which we've tried to appease, and we're following everything by the code and by the transportation. Any recommendations, we already know that we're going to be partial responsible for the light. We're going to have our on-site improvements for right turn lanes and things like that. So we already know that we have to do a lot of improvements because of this major intersection coming in. And we're willing to do that. That's part of the requirements.
And the only reason why I'm bringing it up right now, and I know this is all just a rezoning, but part of our problem, from my perception, is that we don't think far enough ahead in some of these situations and how it would impact the neighbors and things of that nature. That's the only reason why I'm doing this right now and bringing this up, so that it's on the forefront if this thing passes, that it's on the forefront of where we need to go, what we need to be looking at, and from that perspective. That's all I'm asking for.
And I just wanted to also bring up that this site is not just a rezone. It is a planned area. It's a PAD process. So there was concern about what it would look like or what would happen after if this didn't come out. We are required to stay very close to the proposed site plan. We are required to stay within those requirements that we're asking for and those permitted uses. So it's not like anything can just go in there. It's whatever is in that is what we have to stick by, being the plant PAD versus just a conventional rezone.
Okay. All right. Staff.
Yes, King.
Any questions? I've taken up the time. Any questions from anybody on the board? Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. So I think the key is, I heard right turn only, that's on Ocotillo, but they can turn left out of there onto Kenworthy.
If they allow us to do that, that would be an option.
So that can come up later. And some of the comments I've heard was about, if the batting cages go out of place or out of business, and that's the risk that the business owner takes. So we can't really get into that.
And that is also the reason there has been comments and questions of why aren't they just doing the batting cage? Because with all these improvements, as some of you probably have mentioned or thought about, this isn't exactly it doesn't seem to pencil if you put all these improvements in with the batting cages, and that is why there's also the adjacent, they would still be managing. So they're still invested in this corner. They're not selling it off. They are managing the tenants who would be in all these locations as well. So they would maintain ownership and handle that. So that's what helps the batting cages stay in business.
And I don't know if it'd be an appropriate time to add any sort of a stipulation that the proposed development would pay for no parking, no stopping, no U-turn signs. That's a pretty small ask, but I don't know if that'd be the time to ask now or not.
Appropriate.
Looking for my button to push here. I think the appropriate time would be later because we still need traffic studies and the like, for that whole thing, to know the type of signage that would be required. And Chris could probably address that better as sort of timing.
All right, thank you.
Can we?
Right. And we do have traffic studies, but they're just not at the point yet of the site plan, as he was mentioning.
Yeah.
So we've already done the initial traffic studies, and they were fine with what we've had so far in our counts.
Okay. And so I guess what I'm asking is that we enhance that if this does go through. Okay?
Yeah.
Anybody down on this end of me? Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick questions. As I'm looking at the site, I went to Google Maps so I could play with it a little bit. But you're going to have a block wall that goes north and south with the a residence to the west of that?
Correct.
And then you'll have another block wall. Does it parallels Quarter Horse Trail?
Correct, right? I mean, we're still in the design. We'll have to go through site plan, but we were looking at where the parking lot area is, just for aesthetics, just having like a 3-foot kind of something to block headlights and things like that. But we would be willing to go.
You're showing vegetation there.
Yeah, so it would be directly, so the vegetation would be along the road, and then you'd have the block wall behind the vegetation. But we would be willing to work with staff or whatever, because that's the rear of our property, so we technically can put up a larger fence, wrought iron wall, something more aesthetically pleasing, whatever, along that area, as long as we stay out of the visibility triangles.
Sure. Okay, so I have that straight. And then I heard the term parking, but the parking is always determined by the square footage of the buildings that are built. Am I correct?
That and the use.
And a use.
And a use. So, for instance, like doctor's offices versus restaurants versus a regular mom and pop shop. Yeah.
So whatever uses are established here, they will have there's a standard that has been set for the appropriate amount of parking, and that's the developer's responsibility to ensure that he has that met.
Correct. Like I mentioned, right now, currently, there is nothing proposed as a restaurant. Originally, that northern portion was proposed as a restaurant, but because of the parking requirement, it will not fit on the site. So they would never get their certificate of occupancy, and so therefore, that's just going to be retail.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's my questions.
Okay. One last comment for the board and for the public as a whole. I'm reminded of a meeting that we had several years ago with many of our developers in this area. And the thing that was astounding to me as we started talking, first of all, the subject of incorporation come up. And one of the developers asked the question, why would I want to be a part of any incorporation effort? I mean, I already deal with cities, and they're a lot more difficult to deal with. And I just sat back in my seat, and I just looked at him, and I said, you guys have done such a great job bringing these homes here and bringing the people here. But right now, where I sit, I have 6 high schools, 6, just in my district alone. And we don't have the type of amenities that would help these kids. For instance, we don't have swimming pools. And so the purpose of the meeting was to get their buy-in so that we can start addressing. We've got our family size is 3.2. That's for the national average, that's high. And so what do our kids do? Where do they go? And so we've been working on some park systems and things of that nature that we're going to be introducing to the public here in the near future. But as a kid, we had a batting cage in my home. And my brothers liked it because they liked to throw the ball at me and just see if I'd get out quick enough, get out of the way. My neighbor behind me, he's put in a batting cage. He's put in 6 trampolines. He has a full-size basketball court. The point I'm getting at was all of our neighbor kids convert onto his house. And he's done that for a reason. And so that's where we're missing some of our points with our youth and with our kids. And so anyway, that's the 2 cents I want to add to this. So, okay, any other comments or anybody from the board? All right. Now, obviously, what we're going to need to do here, because of those that are opposed, it's going to require a supermajority, right? So we'll do that by.
Close the public hearing.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Oh, okay. I did close it? Okay, good. I can do it again if Miller wants me to. So it's going to require a supermajority at this point, and so we'll maybe a roll call, but first we need a motion on item number 11, and then we'll do number 12 separately. So I'd have a motion moving forward or on
Mr.
11.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item number 11, ordinance number 2024-PZ-046-23 in favor of. And are there any stipulations to this one?
Yes, Chairman Supervisor Miller, the staff presentation listed one stipulation.
One stipulation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay, roll call.
Supervisor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye.
Supervisor Surdy?
Aye.
Vice Chairman McClure?
Aye.
And Chairman Goodman.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimous.
Okay, now we're moving on to item number 12. Do we have a motion moving forward?
Make a motion to approve item number 12 as presented. It's ordinance number 2024-PZ-PD-001-23. How many stipulations do we have?
Chairman Goodman, Supervisor Miller, the staff presentation recommended 11 stipulations.
With 11 stipulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Supervisor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye.
Supervisor Surdy?
Aye.
Vice Chairman McClure?
Aye.
And Chairman Goodman.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay. I say we need a break for lunch. Are you guys okay with that?
Second.
We're 40 minutes late.
Yeah. I was waiting for Supervisor Surdy to say something. I think he was over his head. Hey, work on those boys over there at home. Whip them into shape, man. Well, let's do them. Okay, item 13 and 14, Sangeeta, you want to give us some background on this?
Sure. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. I'm sorry. Okay. Sangeeta Devkar, Senior Planner, presenting the next 2 cases. This is the Red Rock Village rezone and a pad amendment, PZ 04223 and PZPD 01623. This proposal basically consists of 2 cases. The first part is the rezone, and the second is the pad overlay. Just to give you a brief background on Red Rock Village, this case was actually rezoned. This development happened along with the case that was in 2002. And there are multiple small minor amendments and major amendments that have happened. The last one was the PZ 01508, which is the rezone portion. This proposal consists of amending the last case, which is what I just mentioned. It actually consists of two portions of CR3 and CR4 pad rezoning to R7 and R9 pad, and the pad overlay basically is an amendment to the 977 acres of the larger Red Rock Village. Just to give you an idea moving forward, the size consists of 294 acres of R7 and 192 acres of R9 that is going to be rezoned. The location is at a Red Rock Village Exchange on I-10. The owner applicant is RRV South LP, Robert Bambauer, who is here present, and agent is the Planning Center, Brian Underwood. To give you a perspective of the location, this is in the central south portion of the county, marked by the red star, which is just north of Tucson. And the area map showing the portion in red, which is a portion of the pad that is requested for the rezone and the pad overlay. One can see the extent of the original pad where the development and the platting has already occurred, which is C3 and a couple of C4, CB1 zoning. You can see that the portion which is just south of I-10. And the comprehensive plan, as one can see, is moderate low-density residential and a high-intensity activity center in the northern portion, which is not developed. The portions that is requesting for the rezone is therefore portion of that pad, and we can see the aerial showing the development actually not happened. The portions to the south of this and the west has already developed and been platted. It's in the process of final plats. This gives you a further zoom down area and the perspective of the exact area and portions that are requesting for the rezone and the pad overlay. One can see that there's state land surrounding to the north, east, and the south. And just along both sides of this, the original pad was planned. And the red boundary shows the portion that is requesting the changes from CR3 and CR4 to R7 and R9. I'm sorry. So the existing zoning and the proposed zoning, these are the two exhibits that are shown. And one can see that in the left side of this map, which shows the portions of CR3 and CR4, the purple is showing the CR4 zoning. The existing acreage is 262 acres for CR4, CR3 is 224 acres, and the proposed acreage, which is changing to R7 and R9, is 294 and 192 acres. So it is basically within the same pad, they're changing only these two zoning for those areas that have been shown in red. There have been multiple small changes that have happened across time in the whole process of these pad amendments that have happened across the last multiple years. There's a Red Rock Road that was extended, that has been extended. There's a South Aguirre Lane which goes down south and connects further. There's a northern extension of that Red Rock Village, and one can see those being marked in red bubbles. And this basically amendment is not changing any of the development standards that were approved prior. So it still maintains the 18% of open space of the residential area, which is 175 acres. There is no change in density. The density still remains as 4.0 dwelling units per acre, which is what they are proposing. It's the change in land use, and the reasons for amendment, I will just bring up. There's the amendment standards still follow the same that were approved under R7 from CR3 and also for R9 from CR4. Some pictures taken along north, which is East Sasko, along I-10, south, east, and the west. So some of the items for the board's consideration is the total area of the rezone pad is 977 acres. This conforms with all of the development standards as approved in the prior case, there's no deviations. Density also has remained the same, which is with a total cap of 3,964 units. And the density, as mentioned earlier, is 4 dwelling units. Rezoned for 486 acres to newer zoning categories, R7 and R9. And this is to be also realigning of the east-west extension of the Red Rock and the Aguirre Lane. This also is memorializing the 5-acre Wesleyan church. This case basically is a kind of a cleanup process to incorporate all of these alignments and the changes that have happened across time. And this is basically Planning and Zoning recommended approval with 7-0 with 16 stipulations. And we are open for any questions at this point for this case.
Any questions? Okay. This is a public, we need to open up a public hearing on the, do we want to hear from the applicant? Does the applicant want to speak?
They also have a presentation if you would like to listen to them and share their thoughts on that.
Okay. Does anybody want to listen to them? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Come on up.
Good afternoon, Chairman Goodman, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board. My name is Brian Underwood, and I'm with the Planning Center in Tucson. Thank you for hanging in there with us. I do have a presentation this morning or this afternoon now, but I will not get into it unless you guys want me to. But I just wanted to say that Sangeeta did an excellent job in her presentation, and really, as she mentioned, this is really just a cleanup of all of the past history that's gone on with this planned area development, memorializing that all into this latest amendment, and making sure that the county has a document that they can use going forward that's clear about what the past what's been done in the past and where we're going here in the future. And so really it's just a housekeeping item to make sure we don't have that split zoning, and Sunbelt Holdings can continue to plat the land that they've been developing there in Red Rock. So okay. No changes.
Okay. Anybody from the crowd here? Meaning our crowd, the board? Okay. No questions. So we need to open up a public hearing. So, and this is for items 13 and 14 as far as public. So is anybody here in the public would like to comment? Seeing that there's none, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll take these individually by vote. So, item number 13, do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 13 as presented.
A motion
with one stipulation.
Oh. Okay. Now do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 14. Do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 14 with 16 stipulations.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. You didn't even need to do your spill. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to item number, I believe these are all connected, 15, 16, and 17, right?
That's
so you're going to talk about those now.
That's correct.
And then when it comes to the public hearing, we'll hear from all three of those. Okay. You're on, Sangeeta.
Sure. Once again, Sangeeta Devkar, Senior Planner, presenting this case. It's called the Smith-Rothberg Rezone and Pad. And it composes of two parts, or rather three parts. The first is a non-major comp plan amendment, and the second and the third is the rezone and the pad overlay. As mentioned, the first part is a land use change from moderate low density residential to a medium density residential, which is changing it from capping from 3.5 dwelling units to capping it to 4 in the range of 4 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The rezone is for 60 acres from GR zone to R7 pad, which is a single residence zoning, and the pad overlay is again for the same 60 acres, consisting of 294 dwelling units. This location is west of I-10 and Union Pacific Railroad, and you will see that it is exactly close and south of the prior case that we just heard. The owner applicant is Robin Smith and Joanne Rothberg, and once again, the agent is Planning Center Brian Underwood representing them. The same location as shared earlier with a red star and central south county. Area map showing this location of the 60 plus acres. We just talked about the Red Rock Village pad amendment. Now this portion is actually just fitting into this. It's kind of an extension to the Red Rock Village. And it just abuts at the southern portion, southeast portion of the earlier case that we just heard. The comprehensive plan, as shared earlier, is moderate low density residential, which is 1 to 3.5 dwelling, and the proposed density is medium density residential. Aerial picture showing the area currently not developed and sits along the highway. The zoning of this, as one sees right now, is CR3 on the western portion, CR4 on the northern portion, which is going to be changed to R7 and R9 as currently approved. The south of this is the state land, and opposite of this, of the road, the I-10 is the CI2, which is also part of the Red Rock Village, larger PAD. The proposed development plan basically is kind of fitting into the existing and the approved Red Rock Village that we just saw. We can see the access is from South Aguirre Lane, which is the extension shared in the prior case. We can see that there is connections that have been made from this development to the portion on the north, which is the Village B of the Red Rock Village, and the Village C to the western portion of the Red Rock Village. This is independent. It has its own primary amenity in the central portion. It has a buffer along the Interstate I-10 on the eastern portion with a trail that has been designed that connects pedestrians to the green belt and to the portion to the north. Some of the features of the site plan, it consists of, as I talked about, the central amenity of 1.55 acres with multiple secondary amenities for the 294 dwelling units as proposed in this plan. The vehicular connectivity to the RRV Village C to the north. There are trails that connect within the community and also to the Red Rock Village. Central Park is also connected with pedestrian linkages, and there's a buffer that has been designed with a 10-feet landscape that abuts the residential lots. The site plan is an extension, as I talked about, was to the RRV pad to the north and to the development on the west. Some of the development standards, the proposed density overall is 4.89 dwelling units per acre. Open space as proposed is 26%. The development standards are similar to the ones that we just saw. The R7 standards per county are 7,000 square feet as a minimum lot size. The modified R7 standards, as per this proposal, is 4,000 square feet. The utilities and service providers, as shared, is the table showing water, global water, wastewater, and all of the utilities and services have been listed over here. It also falls in the Red Rock Elementary School District. We reached out to all agencies asking for any comments. We did not receive any opposition. Some pictures taken once again along north, I-10, along south, east, and west. Some items for board's consideration. The total area is, for the land use change, the rezone and the PAD is 60 acres. Red Rock area is identified as a growth area, and Smith-Rothberg development is consistent with the vision of this area. It's an extension of the RRV PAD, which is the Red Rock Village, that surrounds it from all three sides, and the lot sizes are similar to the ones in the RRV Village. Density as proposed is 4.89, and the rezone is from GR to R7. We received no letters in opposition. Planning and zoning approved with 7-0 voting, and staff recommends approval with 17 stipulations. Sorry. I'm open for any questions. Again, we also have another presentation for this case by the applicant.
Okay. Applicant, did you want to speak to it?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Brian Underwood again. I have a presentation, but I'll table it unless you guys want to see it. And just wanted to thank staff for getting us to this point. They've been wonderful to work with. Sangeeta's done an excellent job on our case and gave a wonderful presentation. As she mentioned, this is just an extension of Red Rock Village. It'll be developed by Sunbelt Holdings, and it's so that, Red Rock Village is about 50% built out right now, and this will allow them to continue on with future phases in Red Rock and provide quality housing for years to come.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the board? Any questions? Okay. All right, hey, thank you. We'll open up to the public for a public hearing on item 15, 16, and 17. Anybody from the public want to speak? Seeing that there's none, nobody's running up here real quick, so we'll close our public hearing, and we'll take each of these items individually. So item number 15, do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 15 as presented with no stipulations.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Item number 16, moving forward. Any motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 16 as presented with one stipulation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 17, motion moving forward.
Third time's a charm. Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 17 as presented with 17 stipulations.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The reason why I've got my grin on the face, we were watching that Finding Nemo with one of our grandkids, and where they're sitting out there go, I. Sorry, it just reminded me. Okay, so, hey, you did that without any presentation. That's good. Sangrita did a good job, so you're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Holy cow. Item number 21. Any items that any of the board member would like to see presented at a future board meeting? Supervisor Kavanaugh.
That was wait a minute. I think I've got a couple. Here we go.
All right, well, let's go to Miller real quick then.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, I believe I asked for this previously, and hope staff is moving on it. I'd like to see a map of Pinal County where all the locations that we've approved solar projects And of the zones we've been approved, which ones are built or in the process of being built. So I haven't, and we can do that in a study session or something, but I think we need to see something like that.
I like
sooner
that.
than later.
Yes, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Supervisor Miller, just for clarity, when you say they're in the process of being built, are you referring to actual ground being broken?
Right. They've got a shovel in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Because
just
there's
to make
some
sure.
that are idle that there has not been any movement on it. So
They've been idle for some time.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's the ones that actually broke ground.
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay. Anything else?
Chairman, can I ask for just one question, clarification on that? We can try to do it, but just to make sure as we go, you want us to get incorporated and unincorporated both if we can?
Yes, I think we need to see the whole picture.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Supervisor Kavanaugh, you had something, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first would be a report on the appropriate standards outside the regular election update, but what are the appropriate standards for cameras in the elections office? And number two, an action item that the board directs the elections office to save video recordings of all election-related activities for 2 years. Right now, it's 60 days.
Okay. Did you get that, Chris? I think just some direction from council in regards to that is going to be helpful and important.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Can
Supervisor
I add
Miller?
something to that? Mr. Orton indicated that if it was not FBI standard, it's not admissible to court. That doesn't sound correct to me. And I think you took the blunt for what I said.
You know,
in that
but I think
meeting.
the question was, it was a question, not a statement. And that's the only reason why. Yeah.
But I think I said it. He had his back turned when he walked in. He thought it was you.
Well,
And for clarity, yes, we can incorporate that very well into that answer too also.
Yeah.
But for clarity, Supervisor Kavanaugh,
Yes.
the video footage, is that for any place in the elections department or Dropbox? Is there any place else, or is it specific to one location, to the new building, for example?
I would say that if the drop boxes and the interior could be different standards.
Okay.
Are there standards that are necessary? What is the necessary resolution, if any, and what is the recommended? Maybe our IT department could chime in on that.
Yeah.
Do we need to have video that is of such quality facial recognition could be used? That was the first item. The second item is saving. Right now we have a case that's moving past the 2-year mark, and we have issues that have come into question after the 2-year mark. So, what would the mechanism be to save those videos and an action item to do that for a minimum of 2 years?
Thank you.
anything else? Anybody? Okay.
No.
We're going to go back into executive session. We recessed it, so I don't need a motion, so we're going to go back into executive session for the final item, and then we'll come back and close the meeting. Okay. We're back in executive session.
Yay.
Okay. Could I get a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're out of executive session, and we are gone for the day.